Call to order. This is the Carver Heights Montclair Area CRA. Today is Monday, December the 16th. The time is 5:03. Would you please rise for the invocation and the pledge? Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch after us tonight and that you help us make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We do this in your name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read those? Can I get a motion to approve
I'll make
those?
a motion to approve the October 28th meeting minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Move on to item 3, which is a discussion regarding additional considerations for lot donations. Are you wanting to tee this up, or you want?
Yeah, and my computer's not popping up yet, but this is the policy, right? Yep, okay. So, the city staff has received a couple of requests from Leesburg CDC on the lot donation policy. Just a super brief recap on that in this tee-up is, as we've moved forward, we've modified our lot donation process. So lot donation, specific word choice there. We can sell lots, we can do different things, but this policy would refer to if the City Commission or the Leesburg Commission, CRA, would donate lots. So we created that policy. Specifically the CRA, this body, and the City Commission, because lots are owned by title by either the City of Leesburg, which is governed by the City Commission, or the CRA, which is governed by this body. So the conversation is before you all. So in making that policy, we put together a number of things. We had a brief moratorium in the process of putting this policy together. The policy is referenced on the deed that you're considering tonight, and I'll get to that shortly as well. But long story short, that policy created a number of new circumstances that would then guide either the CRA or the City Commission in donating parcels. Briefly, they would be, it's a not-for-profit organization. Not-for-profit organization is not defined specifically in the policy, but typically a not-for-profit organization would be a 501c3. The question of does a church qualify has come up a number of times. And the short answer to that is under the new policy, it depends. When would a church qualify? A church would qualify if the church is not doing church business. So for, to complicate, the policy goes on and its major purpose is to construct single-family homes. So typically a church's purpose is not to construct single-family homes. Typically a church's purpose is to construct a parsonage, construct a school, construct a sanctuary, construct a thrift store. Those are typical church purposes. The exception to no, churches don't qualify would be if that specific church organization is doing what the policy says, which is building a single-family residential home, not a parsonage. Those are two different things. That's my interpretation of the policy. The policy then goes on and it puts in some parameters on who would qualify to get the homes. It then puts on parameters that the city reviews who gets the home. And then it also puts on parameters by limiting how many lots can be given out into a specific not-for-profit. And that's 3 lots over a 3-year period. So it doesn't say 3 lots now. If you get 3 lots now, then they can't receive another lot in 3 years. 1 lot, 1 year. So if a request is made today for 3 lots and they're given 3 lots, then 3 years before they would be eligible. The policy also goes in and it stipulates that construction has to start in 24 months and it has to be CO'd within 36 months. And I think there's some language in the policy that extends for exceptions. So that was the policy we adopted by resolution August 23-ish, about then. And so another significant, I don't want to use the word deviation, but modification to what we've done. And no disrespect to our former city attorney, Fred Morrison. But I want to point out a significant difference in your packet. And that is the difference between a quitclaim deed and a warranty deed. Okay, so in the past, as long as I've been your city manager, and I'm assuming before that, we always issued a quitclaim deed. Okay, so a quitclaim deed, in short, non-legal, Grant can back me up if you want the legal explanation, but quitclaim deed is basically the city or the CRA owns it. We're going to give this lot to you, but we're pretty sure we have clear title, but we can't warranty that we have title. Okay, so if something pops up, if the fancy word, if there's a cloud on the title, the city or the CRA, you're kind of wiping your hands saying, that's not an us issue, that's a you issue. We did that process of the quitclaim deeds 100 times. And since I was here, there was one issue, I think on a Florentine house, where we had a cloud on the title, and it was after the Leesburg CDC invested in the house, after we gave the house, and the CDC came to us, and I think it was me and Fred then, not me and Grant, but our response was, we gave you a quitclaim deed, it's yours to fix. And I think at the end of the day, it was a bank, and the CDC fixed that error. And I want to say they paid somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 grand, 15 grand, 25. John says, John Christian in the back, he was involved in that process. So the CDC then paid the bank the $25,000, and then they got full title, and title was cleared. So that process, as we changed from Fred, unfortunately, to Grant, fortunately, Grant worked with code enforcement a little bit. And so I don't want to give a big story, but it's important to this topic because what Grant felt was important is that we stop doing quitclaim deeds. And before we donate parcels, Grant wanted to make sure that we had no question, we had clear title. And so to do that, of course, Grant pulls out some statutes and notes that we've got to vet properties, we got to advertise properties, we got to do a little more title research. But in so doing, instead of giving quitclaim deeds, we can potentially we can give a warranty deed. And then that was a better process as well, because with the new policy, you'll note in the draft, in your agenda pockets, the warranty deed on the request this evening specifically refers back to this policy. And it says, we grant you warranty deed, but the entity who's receiving these parcels has to follow the program pursuant to the policy that's adopted. So that's a significant deviation or change. I said I wasn't going to use that word. So that's a significant change in the process. And that was the change in the process that was adopted by the City Commission in adopting the new donation process. So as myself, again, I guess those requests came to me, from the request that you have on the agenda tonight, and I'll speak on behalf of the City Commission in the next meeting. So we have a list of approximately 30 lots. I know the City Commission's reviewed it. I don't know if we've reviewed it in the CRA capacity, but of those 30 lots, about half of them are the CRAs, and about half of them are the cities. And of those 30 lots, maybe 15 of them, or 10 or a dozen, have been clear titled, meaning our city attorney Grant has done all the work associated with advertising that's required to get clear title, doing the title research, and of the lots that are available, about 10, 15 of them have clear title and can rightly be donated or sold or whatever. And the city or the CRA is in the position to do what they will with those lots. Sell, donate, keep, whatever. Of the 15 that are cleared, again, it's about split. About 7 are city lots and about 7 are CRA lots. So after we got through that process, my office received multiple requests from the Leesburg CDC on donations. And those donations were for 2 lots on Beecher Street. I don't know the exact address of it. I want to say it's 700 block, but it's pretty much directly across the main entry from Berry Park. Yep, 706 and like 704, directly across the main entry from Berry Park. Those are CRA lots. So those are on this agenda for you all to determine if you want to donate that pursuant to the new policy through a warranty deed, which is in your packet. After this meeting, the commission then will consider another request from Leesburg CDC, which is for the old Dabney Pool site. That site is a city-owned site, so the city commission needs to consider that. In this process now, to kind of get to the chase, and the first item up for the discussion is Commissioner Berry has had a number of conversations with me about modifications to the process, which led to what I just described. But in so doing, I think there's probably some communication errors between myself and Commissioner Berry and the city attorney over the changes, and I'll try to, and then I'll turn it to finish off the tee off and in for discussion. So as the city received, as I received these requests, I felt a catalyst to get these on the agenda because we had a public request, we had public records, we had a couple of emails, I had a couple of phone calls. We've been through this process, discussions a number of times. So I felt pressure from the public to bring this to your attention. I also felt pressure from a commissioner who wasn't quite yet happy with the policy that we just put together. So Commissioner Berry submitted to us, I think at the end of last week, not this Friday, but a couple of Fridays ago, some modifications that she would like this body to discuss. And this body would be as well as the city commission. So if we're going to adopt a modification to the policy, ultimately this body as well as the city commission probably needs to adopt the same. My guess, without complicating, is that the city commission could probably adopt it as an umbrella, but then the CRA needs to follow it. Its title is CRA Commission or city-owned lots. So it's appropriate for you all to have this joint conversation on where you want to go. So the confusion and the reason that this is attached before the consideration is to give Commissioner Berry deference and influence on how this policy may or may not be adopted or modified by you. She submitted to us, which is in your packet, a number of things that she wanted us to consider. I will just summarize it by saying that I think the biggest issue is what was a clearinghouse of lots. And I think when I said a clearinghouse of lots to Commissioner Berry publicly and privately, I meant the process that Grant did, which was vetting the lots so that they are publicly able to be disposed of. So with the statutes, with the CRA implications of those type of things, we have to advertise that for a certain amount of time. That advertisement is not, I think, what Commissioner Berry had in mind. Commissioner, and I will let Commissioner Berry speak to this. Commissioner Berry, I think, was looking for a full disclosure of, hey, this is the city's inventory. Who in the community wants these lots? I think she felt that was important because maybe one organization or other folks knew more about the inventory than that's typically publicly disposed. So I think Commissioner Berry wanted to make an even playing field over the entire community so everybody knows what we have, what could be doled out, for lack of better words, and the existing policy that we adopted didn't include that process. So with that, I'll turn it back to you all for discussion. But essentially, I think the lots for consideration tonight, whether it's this body or the city commission, they are ready to be considered. Whether that's do nothing, whether that's sell, or whether that's donate, those lots have been legally vetted. We have clear title, and you are in a position to manage that tonight. The question then becomes is, do we want to modify the policy pursuant to that action? So your first order of discussion is to or not to modify the policy.
May I go ahead?
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Thanks, City Manager. For the introduction, I have a few little changes or pointers to put in, but for the most part, that is my understanding, and this is the process that I'm looking for. You have two proposals that were submitted for the process of surplus lots. The concern that I have is not the process, can you hear me? The concern that I have is not the process, it's the allocations of the lots when they are cleared. I am here to move these lots. I would like to move the lots, but I'd like to move them with clear understanding, with better defined processes that would be equitable for all. When I say all, anyone that knows about a nonprofit lot in the area to either purchase or be donated. I would like to say my purpose here is this process establish a clear and transparent method for the disposition of vacant lots in the city of Leesburg through the community redevelopment, from the city of Leesburg through the community redevelopment agency. The primary goal is to develop of affordable single-family homes by partnering with nonprofit organizations. With this understanding, things evolve and may require us to review and amend the process. And this is where I am with that. I heard all the comments from all of my colleagues and the concerns, and I heard you. I am ready to move on forward, just like you all are as well. So that's where we are for sure. Please understand, this is not a process on a process. And I just want to make sure and clarify to clean up and complete the existing process that we have. And the first thing I would like to address and have discussion over, please, is some issues that we have is lots were never advertised to the public of surplus availability. So how did the organizations know about the lots? So my question is, how would you know to apply or put in your request if you didn't know? How was the information communicated? There are 6 organizations that we have on this lot that the list that Al suggested that was all cleared by grant, the city attorney, 6 organizations now to know to request these lots. The advertising that did occur were classified ads on March 20th for 10 lots that were advertised in the Leesburg Daily Commercial for 30 days. However, this is a statute required to meet the disposal of property guidelines within the Community Redevelopment Agency guidelines. When the city manager made his report on November 12th in the city commissioners meeting, these 10 lots were discussed as available lots ready to sell or donate with clear titles. When I was requesting allocation process to be put into place, Mayor Burry suggested that I create one, and this is where we are. So as you can see, there's 2 processes out there, and these are just the concerns that I have that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it's fair to anyone else. There's no formal application process. There are some that we don't know anything or much about the nonprofit, let alone what's being developed. I think we request for lots should include detailed projects, proposal, development plans, project timeline, a budget, proof of financial capacity, evidence of experience in affordable housing development. The one thing that we don't want to give the lot away and someone starts and for whatever reason they aren't able to complete, because we're back to square one with blight and now we don't own the property. So that's a concern. No timeline for the application submission. A typical application process will open at a beginning and an end. We don't have that in our instructions and processes. Is the eligibility of a nonprofit clear? And city manager just confirmed that by explaining the churches. Churches are allowed to receive or as a gift or purchase as long as they're not doing any church business. And I'm not going to repeat that because Al went into detail with that. Under Section D on the detail of the lots, it says lots shall be donated on a first-come, first-served basis. But it's impossible to be a fair process if the points just doesn't outline and it doesn't occur first. It's only fair if everyone received notice of the availability at the same time. In that case, it was not clear. Now, If I'm missing something, maybe I can get more information from the housing director to explain how the lots were selected, but it needs to be some form of I think, this is my opinion, I think it should be some form of a download of application, a upload of application, and a cutoff date when applications no longer can be received. I think that's a fair process to say we've received for in this block and this block. So if there's 2 or more organizations that are asking and requesting for the same lots, we then create the vetting mode in which I'm trying to explain now. So I am recommending that we adopt the lottery drawing process for disposition of surplus lots requests, where we do a lottery. All requests received for the available lots enter a lottery. Each request should occur via an application process with a predetermined timeline for application access and deadline for submission. Applications should be completed online, time submission. After a certain time of a specific date, the application won't be accepted. All submitted applications are vetted to determine if eligibility, just like I just spoke, are in line, and applicants must appear at a CRA meeting for the drawing. Applicants select a number, determine who draws first. A lottery could address and ensure all of the available lots are clear on the books, and this allows to dispose of lots, and it's a more equitable manner that can give you a clear fairness for everyone to participate. Are there any questions? Am I making sense? Are you following what I'm stating?
So the lottery process, thank you. The lottery process would be only when 2 non-for-profits or 3 or more desire the same lot.
No, I think the lottery process would be the general process for all, so that everyone has an opportunity to draw and pick, draw, and whatever they draw, that would be their lot that they get. Because right now, we don't know, and no one knows that the lots are even available. So if there's another church that's interested in building a home, they don't know this because we haven't advertised. So this way, once we advertise, we give a window of time, an application process, all of these requirements that I just ran through. We come to a CRA meeting and we draw and determine which, if you pick a number, you pick that number. You pick one, then you're the first to pick your lot. I mean, you to draw your lot, and whatever comes up, that's the lot you have. I think that's fair. So that if 2 and 3 people are asking for the same lot, we don't have to have, well, you can probably take the highest bidder or something after if it is a tie, but it won't be a tie with a drawing. You just pick one and it'll be available.
I totally understand what you're saying. I would say this. There is a lot of chatter in the community. So to date, we haven't had duplicate requests. What I would suggest is if we vet these publicly, we vet them publicly, and it's first come, first serve, and then a simple policy can state if there's duplication of requests, then it would go to a lottery.
Okay, when you say
So I wouldn't force it into a lottery process until you had to.
So when you say duplication of processes, I know that West Leesburg CDC requested lots and was told that the lots were already taken, so they had to select another. And I think their list is on 2 of them. And then another concern is that I see on the listing of our 6 organizations that requested, we have the Christian Worship Center requesting 1111 Beecher Street on Alt Key 1174571, but in the letter that we received, it's from the Leesburg CDC requesting. So who is asking for the lot? Who's requesting? That's not clear.
I'm going to say, what was the date of the CWC letter?
Oh, I don't have that information. I'm talking about
look, the record and the request that we have on file that is being processed is the Leesburg CDC.
Okay,
so I would disregard the CWC request
But that's the information you provided. I'm sorry,
I-
have
right.
Can you give us
I
clarification?
can
This
help,
is
Mayor,
what
if
we
that's,
have.
I'm a chair, if it's okay. John Christian, Leesburg CDC, and Ms. Berry, you are correct. There may be duplications, but as a nonprofit, we work together. In fact, the housing manager would tell you that Homes in Partnership also asked for the same lot. It was a phone call to a nonprofit, and there was no problem saying you could have that lot. In the nonprofit world, especially working with our city government, you're talking about a donation. There's no argument, there's no fussing. We are appreciative of whatever the city allowed us to have. The request tonight will be for the CDC of Leesburg because, once again, CWC and CDC work hand in hand. As the city manager said, tonight considerations for the CDC and whatever, if you grant that lot to the CDC, you won't get no complaints from CWC at all or any other nonprofit that I know of, because I think we all are appreciative of whatever the city will provide for us. So I, just another point. Just reading over glancing real quick, Ms. Berry, I hear your consideration, but if you're going to tell me to give you a proposal on what I'm putting on the lot that I don't know which lot I'm having, I can't tell you what kind of house I'm putting because maybe a 50-foot lot or a 65-foot lot, so that may determine what size house I can put. So until I know what lot I have, I cannot tell you what size house I'm going to put on that lot because the lot size determines that. So I think, we're going too deep into this. I mean, I promise you, most nonprofits, the 6 that you have in consideration, they're well-to-do nonprofits. They're here in Leesburg. I don't think should have any concerns about those nonprofits doing what they say they're going to do. So I just hope you consider not overcomplicating this process. I think the housing department, how we knew about the lot, of course, I have an advantage because I was one of the ones who was telling the city to buy the lots. Before I was a commissioner in '97, we were working with the city commission to get those lots into Leesburg. But I think all those 6 nonprofits were well aware of those lots. And remember, you got to ask yourself, how many nonprofit affordable housing builders do you have in Leesburg? And I tell you, 5 of those out of those 6 are the ones who are going to be knocking on your door, wanting to build a house in your most blighted part of your city. And now if you get more knocking, I'd be amazed if you get more than those 6 who are going to knock down your door, say, I'm going to build a house. My church built houses because we're a great church, and that's part of our mission. So I don't know any other church in Leesburg that's building affordable housing. That's just my point. So thank you, Mayor.
Pastor Christian, may I make one statement? You
Yes, ma'am.
asked how would you know what lots? The drawing lottery process is done to determine that you get to choose a lot. The information of what lot you receive will be done afterwards, and then you'll have the
I
information
just read here
of
the
what was holding.
applications, step number 2.
That application was information that I submitted for discussion,
Oh, no,
and
I'm just going by what's on the paper.
it's possible that that could be amended as well. But the process is a fair process, so that I don't know if I could speak to say there's no other nonprofit, no other church that would be willing to build a house for a single-family home.
We've been
We
doing-
can't speak on that because
Well,
we
we've
haven't
done
never
for-
opened
for
it up.
This is about month number 19 that we've been talking about this process. The city has been donating or selling lots since I was in Leesburg, on the commission, off the commission, about 25 years. I know no other church in Leesburg that's built an affordable house in 40 years here in Leesburg.
Has the opportunity been given? Do they know about the lots that
When I
are
was sitting out there-
available?
When I was out there as a citizen, I approached the city about things in my city. I got involved. So, I mean, it's not fair to those people who come and involved in the city to say, poo to you because you took the time to learn away from your family, your careers, to come and learn about your city government, to say we're not going to consider that just as opened up because it wasn't a fair process. I mean, statutorily, you advertise in the newspaper. That's the city's responsibility. Now, to go further beyond that, that's kudos to the city, but you don't have to do that. So I don't think you punish everyone else because someone didn't read the newspaper or someone didn't watch. You got capabilities of watching online. You can watch all these meetings online. So I think the commission must understand that you're doing what's statutorily required of you. You've done your job. Your responsibility, I think, is up to citizens and those nonprofits. This is my job. So my job is to be concerned and care about what's happening in my city. So I think that's everybody's responsibility, not just me. That's everybody's responsibility. I don't think you penalize those people who are going beyond the call of duty to learn about the city. That's just my point of view.
This is not by no means a punishment or anything. I'm just trying to make sure that everyone is aware that a lot is available. Also, what's not clear to me is on the alt key for 1174-571 for the Dabney Pool. On the original request for the lots, like I stated, it was being presented by Christian Worship Center. But in our meeting, City Manager, we noted on the November 12th meeting, our notes, if you could refer to the minutes, you stated that, hold on one second, please, and we were all in agreement. For November 12th minutes, when City Manager, you presented the lot surplus, you stated that there are a number of ways we could, hold on. For example, 1111 Beecher Street is owned by the city, and that is the old Dabney Pool site. It is an acre lot, so that is a lot that the city may want to consider keeping in inventory. And there are some lots around Berry Park on the list that are larger. Once they leak over into 1 acre site, those we may want to retain as well. So in my notes of noticing, we had, out of the 10 lots that were available, we agreed that we were keeping some CRA lots and some city lots in our inventory. One second, please. Which was the Beecher Street, Dabney. The CRA lot was the house next to the Resource Center, the Reed's home, the 468 Christian Court, and it was one more. Oh, the parks, the lots around Berry Park. I guess so. The 1 acres would be on Nebraska, and another one. So I just want to be clear if this is what we're going to do, because now we're putting this lot up when we had made a understanding that we were going to keep it.
Okay, so my response to that is as follows. I would recommend for this evening's considerations that all requests, but for the ones on your desk, you consider. And you may or may not consider that. That will eliminate confusion between what CWC has requested and what Leesburg CDC has requested. So I think for the record this evening, your action is the requests that are before you.
Mm-hmm.
With respect to my comment on the November 12 meeting, what my goal for the commission was to get some type of direction on where to move forward with the lots. My recommendation to the commission at that meeting was, I think there's some lots on that inventory that you don't want to dispose of, such as the Dabney Pool site, which has been requested again, such as the lots in and around Nebraska and Alabama, the big acreage, I'm going to refer to it, by Berry Park. I think those lots, anything, and I think I further went on and said anything that's greater than an acre, you don't want to dispose of. A, the commission never really formally adopted that policy. It was discussion. And B, you got a subsequent request to consider that. So I'm not going to make a determination based on what I think the commission was trying to tell me. I've got a request for Dabney. I don't think you probably want to give Dabney away, but you got that request, and later on at the CRA agenda, you'll need to the commission agenda, you'll need to consider that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I agree. I'm just stating the notes, and that's all I was
you.
referencing to, because I want to be clear. Because I just feel that the process should be clear and given an advertisement for others to participate. And when I say others, I'm saying anyone. And I am not in objection to not allowing the lots to go to Christian Worship Center or Leesburg CDC or Habitat, any of those. I just think it needs to be a cleaner process. So because we are where we are now, the lots have been requested, the information has been submitted, and we have been back and forth with getting a clear thing. I don't think it's fair to go back and say, oh, you have to go back and do this resubmission. I'm stating just the facts of what I have found and realized. And as I dig through, I see there's other inconsistencies that we have been doing that's not consistent. So I'm just trying to put things in place going forward. So this is where my conversation was. I'm pointing out what I have found just during the times. And if I'm missing something else, I would possibly want to add. But what we have voted on in our August meeting, as far as the process and procedures, we can't use first come, first serve if no one knows that it's a first come, first serve because it's not advertised. That's my first statement that we have to be clear with. So I'm not asking to say no. I'm not at all trying to take away or say, no, you can't. This is where you are. These are the lots you requested. But it was not a fair process to allow others to. And if others come forward and we have 2 and 3 people asking the same lots, and we'll have to still come up with the lottery, which I'm suggesting, and then do an average or the highest bidder for a situation like that. But if we do a drawing, we don't have to worry about that. What you draw with picking a number is what you would have. And that's the detail that I have in my process. So is it a time that I can make a motion, or do we have to do further discussions?
The floor is yours. I mean,
Yeah, I'm saying, is there any other questions or anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, I think you have something. So.
Can I clarify? Hi, good evening. Grant Watson, City Attorney. I just wanted to make a comment on the notification process for publication. So there is a 30-day window with the publication, and that is the window to receive applications. So I think that 30-day publication time period will kind of give you your time frame to submit an application. If you wanted sort of on the city level, outside of the newspaper publication side of things, to give some other type of notice before the formal advertisement was done, that would probably be a way that you could get additional information out. But I think it would be important for everyone to understand that when the newspaper advertisement window opens for that 30-day period, that would be the time for everyone to submit their formal application to the city. So I think you could do it with sort of a pre-notice type of notification, gather information at that point, perhaps let everybody know what you're looking at or what an estimated advertisement window might be so that they would know to be looking at the daily commercial and what their 30-day application window would be. But I just wanted to clarify that there is sort of a statutory time frame that we're given, and we're sort of stuck with that. If you wanted to expand that, I think you could do that a little bit informally before the formal newspaper publication's done.
But on the 30-day, okay, the 30-day statute, I understand that. That is a statute that we have to follow. But after that, the daily commercial is not just the number one medium. I mean, we have social media now. We have our city website. We have our housing department site. We have the CDCs that could offer information, as well as the chamber and Rotary. I could name a wealth of places that we could go to put the information out there. So I'm just saying, just don't limit the daily commercial, because how many really read the...
That's right.
So
I just
I'm
wanted
just saying to be open going forward. But
Yes.
that is the process we've been using.
Yes, ma'am. And I just wanted to make sure everybody understood, I guess, that there is sort of a time frame that's in place for applications because of the statute. And if you do want to expand that time period, that putting some kind of notice out before the formal notification would probably be the best way to do that. And if you have anything else for me, just let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
I think this really, and no disrespect, but I don't think we should take the public comment on this matter. Okay, this is for this body to
Okay.
consider. That's really not germane to public comment. Having said that, I think I described it pretty spot on. There's a disconnect between Commissioner Berry's expectation of a fair playing field for disposition of all the lots and the legal requirement that we've done to get clear title. And where we're trying to head is to make sure that there's a fair process of notification that goes beyond the standard of the law, which is reasonable, that Grant just explained. So back to your request, Commissioner Berry, you are seeking that this body modifies the policy. And you're seeking that we modify the policy by those comments that you put in place. A lottery, a special advertisement, a better disposition of notification of the process that goes beyond the requirements that Grant has enumerated that got us clear title.
Right.
So my suggestion for this body is threefold. And this is where I think you guys need to debate this and give clear direction to staff. A, do nothing. You've satisfied the requirements of law. We have put in place a policy. We may or may not need to amend it. You don't have to. So A is move forward. And if that's move forward, then you're saying, Commissioner Berry, we don't modify the policy anymore. It's good. Let's go down to the consideration of the disposition of the request that we have from Leesburg CDC. That's option 2. If you decide you don't need to modify the policy, you can go to option 2, which is to give out the lots. You may or may not want to vote on that this evening, or vote on that this evening, and you may vote yes, you may vote no. Your third option is to marry it, meet in the middle. We have met all the standards of the law. I'm confident that the primary not-for-profits that we work with, the CDC, Leesburg, the West CDC, the Lake Action Community Agency, Habitat for Humanity, those agencies are pretty familiar with our inventory. So in the matter of expediency, marry it this evening. Let Commissioner Berry know, yep, there's some modifications that we need to do to the policy, but the 2 Beecher Street properties, they're ready to go. So you can do both this evening if you choose. So I think you have 3 directions. I think if you stick with the modification of the policy, that slightly becomes more cumbersome. Because frankly, Commissioner Berry, you put a lot of intricacies in that web.
I did a
But I
dog's
don't
research
think
because I think that
don't-
it's not a fair process. I still say that.
I understand that.
And there's no objection. Let me just be clear. I have no problems with any of the organizations that have requested. And I know that they're qualified because they built and our district looks even better. I'm not trying to take away from anything. I'm just saying there are others, nonprofits, that could do the same or even better, but they don't know about it.
Understood.
I get the calls, I get the requests, and I can say,
So
No.
I got you, and so I think you have those A, B, C options. Modify, don't modify, A, B, or blend it. And I think this body this evening needs to provide clear direction for us on A, B, C.
and we're only talking about 3 lots that are being requested. What about the 10 lots in general? We don't want to
Okay,
discuss
so,
that?
well, here I would go.
Because it's 10 lots, that's clear.
Yep, here's what I would go in that regard. The 2 lots that this body's dealing with, the deed that is in the packet states that they have to follow the policy as it may be amended from time to time. That opens the window for you to be able to give them the lots. It gives you the window to modify the policy to add in a better disposition notification process. And it also now puts 2 lots on the Leesburg CDC in the first 3 years, and they would now only be eligible for 1 lot in the next 3 years. So in English, if you gave the CDC those lots this evening, they would only be able to get 1 more lot in the next 3 years. And they might get that next lot in an hour, and then that would fill up the CDC, and they would be no longer eligible to receive any more lots for the next 3 years pursuant to the policy. And that's how the warranty deed is written up.
Okay. Again, I think I'm repeating myself. I'm not saying take away anything that's already existing. I'm trying to amend to go forward for future lots as they come clear through the city, how this process will work. Because we can't continue how we're doing now. Because if you don't know about it, you can't go to try to reach and say, I'm interested in this lot.
Let's see. We have not, okay, I've been very vocal about getting these lots off our books. They cost us money. We have to clean them, mow them. We're not getting tax revenue. We have not donated or sold any lots. We sold 2 or donated in January of 23. And we just need to get these things moving. The policy here, I respect all the comments on advertising. I'm okay with that. That's really the only thing I would support. We probably should have always done that. I'm not going to sit here and say how. City website, however we want to do it. But I do support getting the word out there. Maybe it will generate more interest. I'm not convinced it will, but I hope it does. But I think the rest of it's a little bit burdensome. I'm afraid we're going to run some people off, and we're going to end up sitting on these lots longer. And the whole idea here, at least with some of these, since they're in Carver Heights, it will greatly benefit the CRA to get these moving and get homes built on them. So I just want to get this thing going. I'm okay with the additional advertising. I'm afraid the other processes are going to limit buyers or nonprofit groups and damage this process.
I would only like to use the lottery process. The other two that I put in was my information that I was giving options at the time. So could I put a motion in for moving forward, or where can I?
So I'm trying to understand your lottery process. To
It
me,
says, right.
if we have more than one person wanting a particular lot, then I can see a lottery process or a
Sealed bid or something. Let them bid on it.
draw cards, some process. But I'm just not understanding I want to build a house. Now let's see what lot I can get. And then but I've got to come to you with a plan to get the lot. Well, I don't know which lot I'm going to get. So
No, you do the drawing first to see who's selected. You get a number, you come to the CRA meeting, and you do your drawing.
Okay.
Then the CRA board has, this meeting group determines and asks the questions. Do you know about building? What would you be putting in the district? I think that's very important to know what's coming in your area. You just give the lot and then let somebody say affordable house or whatever. We have no control.
No, help me out, Al. Right now, the process is we sell them, we donate a lot, donate, sell, doesn't matter. I think it's 1 year, or is it 8? There's a time period where they have to break ground, move dirt, or they have to give the lot back.
Right. They have to start construction in 24 with a CO by 36 months pursuant to the new policy.
What's the old policy?
There was no policy.
Okay. I thought
There
we
was
had.
no policy.
That's
We
my
gave a
point.
lot and a house got built. Here's where I think Commissioner Berry wants to go, and I think the question really becomes is, I think Commissioner Berry should make a motion to direct staff to adopt the policy in the way she's discussed this evenings, and then, because otherwise we're going to talk about the nuances of this policy and we're all going to go crazy. So if the majority of the body thinks we need to amend the policy, I think that would be an appropriate motion from you. The way that, having said that, just briefly, where I think you would go is if you want a true lottery type policy on lots, then we just need to describe a process that describes that. On such and such a month, the city is going to put out an advertisement that says we're going to have a lottery on lots. This body or the city commission is going to clarify which lots you want to get rid of. We're going to put lots, Carver Heights CRA lots 1 through 7 in the hopper. We're going to put city lots in the hopper. We're going to invite everybody to this room, and on this date, we're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to. That would be a lottery process. So we just need to describe that. And if the commissioner just favors that lottery process, that's how I think that needs to be set up. And the first one could, and there could be levels of that. The first one could be, give us interest, first come, first serve. Whoever gets a lot that's not taken, they get it. If we have competing demands, then it will be this process. So we can write the process that way.
How do you? Excuse me, go
Okay,
ahead.
no, I'm sorry. We're acting like there's a line out the door for these lots, and there
We
is.
don't know that.
There is not a line out the door. We're sitting on 30-something lots, and
They're not all clear titles though. So the 30
Okay,
that we're
15
sitting
have clear
on,
title
we
and-
are not able to do anything, and that's possibly the reason why we have so many lots sitting, because we don't have clear title.
okay, we're going in circles. Okay, thank you.
I would encourage you to make a motion.
I have one question, though.
Yes.
In that scenario, if you've already got 3 lots during that 3 years, you would not be allowed to come back and get into this lottery, though.
Correct. That's how I would interpret it.
Now this new policy says up to limited to 3 per year.
That's what Commissioner Cornell just asked. If you give lots to CDC tonight, but still move forward, then those lots wouldn't be in the lottery, but CDC's now has 2 lots, and they'd only be eligible to get one.
Well, the request was, that is
The-
the
yeah.
request, right?
The request is for 3.
Yeah.
But
okay.
2 at this body, 1 at the other.
Okay. I mean, I'm with that. I'm just saying moving forward. It's not, the process isn't clear. I don't think it's,
Understand?
my motion, I would just like to do it too. Were there any other questions or comments for anybody?
Well, let me ask this question. Being that these lots sit in Carver Heights CRA, that 706 Beecher Street, why did not the West get an opportunity to grab up those lots? That's kind of.
Well, that's exactly the commissioner's concern.
Yeah.
That she thinks that each organization didn't have opportunity or
I'm
fair
just
notice
asking.
of where the lots.
Yeah.
And John Christian just said they're communicating with each other. All these groups know about these lots. We
No,
named off
not-
5 or
not-
6 groups that know about these lots.
Okay. Thank you for answering my question. But still, if it's sitting in my CRA and CDC West is there, my question's still going to be, why did they not have an opportunity to say, okay, 706 Beecher Street is coming up available, whether we give it to them or not? What happens? See, that's where that communication kind of drops the ball.
I'm not sure, but what the West Leesburg CDC decided to build with their money, right? I mean,
Look, I think there's a couple of, I think your question asks for lots of opinion and knowledge that I don't have. I can't answer why the Leesburg CDC did not know. I can make some assumptions, or West CDC. I don't know. The West Leesburg CDC wasn't funded the way the Leesburg CDC is. The West Leesburg CDC may not have been able to move forward with this for organizational reasons, but the West Leesburg C has made strides in the past year or so as far as different investments once they received $750,000 from funding from the city. So I can't reasonably respond to both. I think the overall city perspective, and I think that the most important thing is that since the decree, the city has been extremely active in investing in the minority community, whether it's through the Leesburg CDC, through the West CDC, and I'll rattle off the ways we've invested. The $750,000 of the American Recovery Act to both, purchase of the pool from the CDC, purchase of investment in Pine Street, building a gym, building a teen center, building the resource center, undergrounding Carver Heights. That was the first one I said. So, I mean, as a representative of the city, I think the city's done a pretty good job. And once we were told that we needed to invest, we've invested. And frankly, I think this argument is becoming extremely semantical about is it east or west. It's about all of Leesburg. It's about all of our minority community. And I think this body has done an extremely good job of investing in that. So, I mean, in all honesty, this is really a frustrating process for me as your manager. And I can only imagine as frustrating it is for you, because everybody who's sitting up here wants to do a good job. And there's ways that we can keep the ball rolling while we straighten out these semantical issues. So why did the Leesburg CDC not request lots? I don't know. West Leesburg CDC.
Yes.
Sorry.
For the record, Fred Griffin Jr. from West Leesburg. I'm president. Let's go back a little bit just real quick. We were never offered an opportunity, whether funding were there or not. We were never given the opportunity. If you go back and look at your inventory, you have about 0 from West Leesburg CDC that ever got any lots from the city itself. So I just want to make sure that's clear for the record. Whether we had funding or not, we were just never given the opportunity. However, moving forward, we are given the opportunity. When the process came out, I sent 4 different requests, and I want to make sure this is public record because I see where this is going. 4 different requests 3 were kicked back. So basically, that left me with crumbs. And when I say me, West Leesburg. And I want to state for the record, I go inside that office every single day like I'm working a 9 to 5. I get paid 0. So that shows where my heart is. And I just want to move forward so we can continue to do what's best for the community. I listen to their concerns, and I'm advocating to the best of my ability. But I'm getting aggravated, and it's frustrating to continue this rodeo when we should have been off of it.
Is there a motion?
Is there a motion on
I
that?
would like to make my motion, and it'll be in 2 parts. And my motion is that we adopt the surplus lots to be allocated via lottery system, with the understanding that the lots presently requested from the 6 organizations, that they all dispersed via a lottery system. So we're going forward with what we have. We're not going back to ask them. I mean, I want to use the lottery system as my way of determining who
Going
and how.
forward?
Going forward, yes. The second part of my motion is for the next round and all subsequent allocations that they be done via lottery, with the understanding that the current policies and procedures be modified to include the lot allocation and establish the allocation as outlined in the proposal that I submitted. And that is the advertising beforehand so that we can have not a first time, first come serve. I mean, first time, first serve will be an opportunity for everybody, just not east and west of Leesburg's CDCs, but for anyone who is a nonprofit and is willing to come in and provide whatever, not even just a home, but it could be something else. I mean, for a first time homeowner to be built. So, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on my motion there. I was trying to be precise, but.
Okay, so there is a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll say that.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'm still a little confused on the motion. What's the first part again?
The first part is that we adopt the surplus lots to be allocated via a lottery system. This is what we have for the
current lots in inventory, you want them to all be a lottery?
the current lots that we have in inventory for the 10, I would like to use the lottery system, but because the requests have been made for the letter that we have here for the 3, that we would move forward, yes.
So marry the 2 proposals, you're saying.
So you want to do C.
And so you're marry the 2 policies and then approve the 2 properties on Beecher.
Yes,
And then the married policy is the existing and your policy is what you're
that's what
saying.
I'm trying to say.
Okay. So,
So just for clarity.
That wasn't clear on you?
No,
Where does
it
go?
wasn't.
Okay.
You want to do option C.
Yeah.
So you want the city to move forward with modifying the policy. And you want the city to go ahead and donate the 2 lots that are being requested from the CDC, the Beecher Streets, to the Leesburg CDC.
Well, that sounds like we don't have a choice based on what you said about the for the warranty deed, that we have to go through.
Why don't you
Separate 'em?
separate the
Okay.
motions.
Well, do I need to repeat again? Okay, you got it?
Why don't we,
we have a second on the floor.
yeah.
I've been saying
Yeah,
for,
you going to withdraw your motion, your second,
He seconded it.
I'll withdraw it.
and you withdraw your motion.
okay,
And
I'll
now,
repeat.
and break it up.
My motion is that we adopt the surplus lots that have been submitted for this particular letter for the West Leesburg, for the City of Leesburg CDC. And, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. With the understanding that the lots presently requested from the 5 organizations that are all dispersed via a lottery system.
So excluding the 2 on Beecher.
Yes.
I got it.
Thank you.
Everything going forward.
Thank you.
The 2 lots on Beecher.
How many
Will be
requests
handled in-
how many requests do we have on file?
You have,
No,
No, you have-
see, that's the problem with your motion.
No,
is
that's
your
not.
motion, your
The
motion
9
sounds like
requests-
there's the other organizations that have requested lots that we're dealing with them the same.
that's what we have here. You provided it's 9 lots. That's been,
No. You have that list. I saw it on
yeah,
there.
I have this
And-
one. This is not the request list?
No, you've got that other list in there with the yellow, that one. That one, that's even better. So this is a public record. It's been handed out to everybody.
Pass that.
Oh, that's,
Either one of them.
it's the same thing.
Okay, so this is the list that we put together that we discussed on November 12th. So it's a public record. Everybody can get it. This is the list of all the lots. It's divided up on what lots the city has and what lots are owned by the Carver Heights CRA. The ones tagged in yellow are ones that have been through a vetting process that have clear title.
Grant.
That Grant did.
Yes.
You can, the CRA or the city can deal with these yellow lots some way or in fashion. The most formal request that we're dealing with tonight is only from the Leesburg CDC, and it's requesting the 2 lots on Beecher. Alt numbers 167447 and 167455. Those are the ones that this body's dealing with this evening.
Okay.
The way I would word your motion is to instruct staff to modify the lot donation policy to address a lottery and a more fair system of public information and a more fair system to notify the public about how lots may be donated. That will then trigger me and Sandra to go modify the policy. We'll start writing stuff up, and then we'll bring this body back and we'll deal with the lot donation policy and modifying it. That would be step 1.
And the next round will be,
That's my suggestion.
okay.
This
Gotcha.
evening, I would recommend that you move to the next item and you consider the donation of these 2 lots to the Leesburg CDC. All the while, the Leesburg CDC knows that when they get that warranty deed, they will have to follow the policy now or as may be amended, which puts them on the clock. They can only get 1 more lot in the next 3 years. So they get their lots, they go off to construction land, and we go back to the drafting board. While we're back at the drafting board, I would then get Grant and us to work together so that all these lots get a yellow tag.
Great.
Once these lots all have a yellow tag, now we can move into further requests. Now we can advertise all of these properties. Then we can bring stuff in. Then we can determine if we have conflicts. Then we can advertise it. And then if we have conflicts, we can do a lottery system. And that's what we'll wrap up. That's not set in order, but part 1 with the motion as I amended it for you would get the donation policy modification moving. Okay. Is that where you wanted to head?
No, but go ahead.
That was done.
That's done.
That's how I understand the 2 motions that you put forth.
That was it. That's fine.
So I don't think there's a motion on the floor.
Quick.
So, so the motion on the floor that you may want to put is to instruct staff to modify the donation policy.
We can't, this motion can't apply to the Beecher Street properties because there's a resolution item later that.
Right, that's why
So
we're.
it needs to be a separate motion.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I move, I'm saying the motion again?
It's nice and simple.
Go ahead.
You move to that we modify the donation
Donation
policy as you've illuminated this evening.
I move that we modify the donation process to a lottery system as we have discussed this evening.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
No.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Okay, someone please introduce Resolution 4.
I'll introduce 4A to be read by title only.
Resolution of the Carver Heights Montclair Area Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving donation of surplus lots identified as parcel ID numbers 22-19-24, -1000-00D, -01500, and 22-19-24, -1000-00D, -01400 on Beecher Street in Leesburg, Florida, to the Community Development Corporation of Leesburg, Inc., authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a special warranty deed conveying the lots and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, discussion on that? Everybody's good with it? Any discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Connor?
No.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. All right, move on to roll call.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connor?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes, I do agree that the notification process needs to be expanded. And the property that was the former Dabney pool, I still move that that need to be a public facility to better serve the community. I think it would, part of the CRA is to make things better for the community. I agree building houses will work. I think a facility right there to host meetings and educate would be great for that area. Thank you.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Eastman?
Nothing tonight.
Chairperson Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
Jimmy.
We'll call the City Commission meeting to order. It's Monday, December the 16th. The time is 6:16. We have had an invocation and a pledge. So we'll move on. Proclamations, we have none. So we'll move on to item 3, which is presentations, and that is for the water plant fluoride injection project.
Yeah, so while Cliff is coming up, if Anna, if you would cue up the PowerPoint presentation. At our last meeting, I think it was Commissioner Cannell during his comments brought up the question on to hold our contract, I can't remember the contractor's name, on the fluoride injection process we went to. So we wanted to get you just some data. We've communicated with the contractor. We've communicated with legal counsel, and Cliff's got a quick presentation he can kind of give you, summarize at the end with about 3 options probably for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Cliff Kelsey, Public Works Director, City of Leesburg. Members of the commission, just a quick informational brief for you on the main water treatment plant fluoride project that we're doing. So a quick background in history of where we're at. So back around January 23rd of 2024 is when we reached out to our architectural and engineering firm Dewberry to get us a design for the fluoride treatment injection system, and we paid about $80K for that. So the design was completed and the project was put out for bid on April of 2024. And then May 28th of 2024, we took it to the commission for a vote, and it was decided to go ahead and fund it. We issued the notice to proceed to our construction contractor, who is Odyssey, and we gave them the notice to proceed August 5th, 2024. So that's quite some time from right now, but as you can imagine, this is very specialized, very custom-made equipment, so they had to go out and get a lot of it manufactured. So that's where we're at right now, is we have some equipment that's been ordered on hand with Odyssey, and there's still some equipment that they're manufacturing. And then lastly, the period of performance of the contract is August 5th, 2025. That means the contractor has until August 5th of 2025 to complete the project before we hold them harmful or liquidated damages or things of that nature. So based on the discussion of last commission meeting, the 3 options facing you guys tonight is, number 1, terminate the contract. Number 2, pause the contract. Number 3, proceed as planned. So I broke down the options with a little bit of pros and cons. I'm not going to read everything, but to terminate the contract, Grant and I looked into the legal matters along with procurement department. We have a termination for convenience clause in the contract that allows us to do that. Government can terminate for convenience at any time, and any costs incurred will be paid to the contractor. So the pros is easy path if you choose no fluoridation. There's some monies that we can recoup, and in talking with Mr. Al Purvis, the chief plant operator, even though some of the equipment is designed for fluoride injection, we can use some of the equipment in other places of the plant. And some of the cons, we've already spent the $80K in design. We can't get any of that back. And the contractor has incurred about $225K in overhead and some of the construction costs. Oop, one too many. So pause. This is another option that could be chosen. And right now, the contractor's kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for equipment to be manufactured. They don't have any plans to mobilize until January of 2025, late January. So if we did pause this to give us some time to think about it, the contractor did let us know that they could delay mobilization until April without risk of not being able to complete by period of performance August 5th, 2025. So the pros for this will, if there's any state or federal regulations that may change over the course of the incoming administrations, and it will allow commission some time to deliberate this. Some of the cons, there will be costs incurred daily by the contractor. They're still doing paperwork and phone calls and overhead and administrative costs that will be incurred. And if we hit the pause instead of terminating it, we won't have to rebid in the future. If we terminate the contract, but then we decide we want to go fluoridate at some future date, we will have to rebid the contract, which also is an incurred cost. And then another cost of pausing, we could open up the city for a delay claim from the contractor, depending how long we pause. And then the last option is proceed on our current path as we are doing now. Nothing changes. Contractor comes, they're executing the contract. We hold them accountable for what we told them to do. And it's the easiest path for the fluoridation option. And the city does not lose any of the project costs. The cons are obviously regulations, federal and state regulations could change over time, and we cannot recoup any money if fluoridation does become banned or if commission decides not to fluoridate. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Cliff? Okay, so Jay, you had asked for this topic to be paused. Would you like to take the floor to discuss that?
I'd ask for it to be paused for discussion. I think based on the Surgeon General's recommendation, I don't think we move forward on this project. We can get $100,000 plus or minus back on the equipment we bought. I don't think we spend another $300,000 on a project that the state basically is telling us don't do this. I know there's a debate back and forth, but
I don't think the state told us not to.
they didn't tell. Their recommendation.
Just for the record.
The recommendation. So I think we terminate this. We recoup the $100,000. We don't go in debt anymore. If we pause it, we still may incur more costs. And then if we move forward, you may spend a whole amount of money to find out you got to pull it out anyway, possibly. I just think we terminate this, recover what we can, and just don't move forward for discussion. I think after we've got the presentation tonight from Cliff on what our options are, financial options, I think it's clear to me that we just terminate this and not move forward at all on it.
Any other commission comments?
So I supported the motion last week to table this for a week. My intention was not to rehash, the whole pros and cons of fluoridation. I've supported it. It was a tough vote. I actually voted no and then flipped my vote. So, which is the only time I've done that in 6 years. So it tells you it was a tough vote. But the basis for my extension was I think it's a very slight risk, but we have the Florida Surgeon General, I believe, is recommending against it, and we have one of the new incoming president's cabinet members being vocal about it. I think it is prudent to wait maybe up to 90 days. I would feel silly if we went full speed ahead and the federal government put out some kind of mandate. I don't believe that will happen, but after understanding the contract now, we have till April. I would support a motion of 60, 90 days. That would get us into mid-February, mid-March, and at that point, I think if we don't have any direction from the federal government, then I would support it at that time. But I think it's prudent. My fear is that we spend all this money and all of a sudden we're told to take it back out. That does trouble me a little bit, but I don't really want to rehash this whole thing.
Other comments? So we've got a pause, we've got a stop, and I want to continue full speed ahead with this project. I believe that if you look at the advocates who say this is important for our kids, the American Dental Association, the American Medical Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, all these professional organizations of healthcare professionals are telling us that this is a safe and effective way to prevent cavities. And it's factual. There's not a lot of debate about the levels of fluoride that improve dental health. And
I won't dispute that. There is obviously some major benefits, but I believe that by the Surgeon General of the state coming out and making this statement, there's also some side effects to it, or possible side effects that may, the benefits may not weigh out the negatives to this. And I just feel like I don't think we should dictate to the people what we put in their drinking water. I mean, there's a lot of people, I'm sure some here, that don't want fluoride in their water.
we're going to give them an opportunity.
And I don't think we should tell them what they have to drink in their water. I think it should be their choice, not our choice.
I'd like to add a comment, please. Early on when we had this, the discussion was very heated, and it seems to continue. But fluoride is needed, and it's been proven that it's needed. And I think with the 1 week of waiting, I was hoping we would hear more information from the state stating whatever, additional info, but that hasn't happened. So I would lean as well towards moving on with my same decision as far as proceeding. So
I was originally in favor of pausing it, like Commissioner Peterson, but then from the city manager, I was told that our legal counsel advised if we are going to pause it, he recommends we terminate it and then go forward correct, Grant?
Yes, sir. And I would say that there's maybe a caveat in there. So if you pause the contract, certainly we could strike an agreement with the contractor, and they might agree not to impose any type of delay claims for a certain period. So that might be an option, but I don't know that we have the answer to that question. But there is exposure if you go that direction. If you terminate the contract, the city has a clear right to do that, paying the costs that are out of pocket to this point, and you would eliminate any concern about whether or not there might be delay claims during a 3-month window or a 4-month window or something like that. So that's generally true, but we could potentially strike a deal with the contractor to minimize that problem.
I'm a little uneasy with the new administration coming in. I would rather save $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 rather than get it built in, and then they say you have to scrap it, and then we're out the total $600,000. So that's where I'm at.
On that, just add some feedback, and obviously, this is, I think, clearly a legislative priority. So staff has not provided you our opinion as far as the fluoride, but more on the legal and construction methods and that type of thing. So on that note, if a reasonable middle ground on this may be to kick the can till January. The public works. Sorry, Mayor. The Public Works Director. He's not going to be at the water treatment plant for another month, 4 weeks. That does give us opportunities to investigate kind of an amendment to the contract, which would pause construction. I think the pause issues that are going to come up is, will he hold his price? Most of the pricing left is on personnel. That's less changeable than equipment in the marketplace. But people do get raises, prices increase. The contract is only guaranteed for a certain time, which is at August 25th timeframe. So if the delay kicks him past that, then I think we are going to have some type of price modification. Another concern in the pause would be what equipment is on site that's been delivered that now is out of his possession. It breaks. We move to fix it and put it in. Then he'll want stuff fixed. So I think if 3 of the members without a vote, but it's what I'm hearing, at least want to consider a pause, I would recommend the next step is probably we need to go talk to the contractor to see what kind of amendment we can get in there as far as what we can guarantee so we don't argue about it June or July.
Yes, sir, I agree with that. I think that would be a good, healthy
And
process.
we probably have 30 or 45 days for that.
And the additional cost by pausing this?
No, my hope would be that I'm back to you by the first or second meeting in January. Probably closer to the second. So what's that? The 27th, which is probably right about where the key's at. I mean, Cliff will reach out tomorrow, but then the holidays right off. So what I'm saying is if you kick the can a little bit more, we can probably get the parameters on a pause. Or you move forward or you terminate.
I just terminate it, but
Any other comments? Anybody?
If you take pause off the table, I'm going to vote support it versus terminate. And the pause sounds like it's getting complicated, so that kind of troubles me a little bit. But and I tried to read up on it this week. There's nothing out there, and I welcome Commissioner's comments on this, but I think it's an extremely low percentage chance that the federal government is going to come in and mandate this. But I welcome Commissioner's thoughts on that.
Any other comments?
Mayor,
We'll open it up for public comment. If you come to the microphone, you'll have 3 minutes. Please give your name and your address.
My name's Alice Hoffman. You want my street address?
Yes, ma'am.
25205 Cranes Roof Circle, Leesburg. And I know that you made this decision earlier this year to put fluoride in the water based on the information that you were given. However, there has been newer information since then and some court rulings. In federal court, the federal court ruled that water fluoridation poses an unreasonable risk to children. Now, I don't know about the benefits to the teeth, but there are a lot of other things that are worse for teeth, like sugar. But back to fluoride. There are hundreds of recent human and animal studies. There's no question that fluoride is neurotoxic. It damages the brain, as documented by hundreds of recent human and animal studies. It cannot be declared safe. I can't even tell you how many studies there are, but one of the things that it does is it lowers the IQ in children. And this has been documented in many other countries, a Canadian study, an NIH-funded study, National Toxicology Program. They've documented that it lowers IQ from between 2 to 7 IQ points. So I would say Leesburg is way ahead of the national average because we've got smarter kids because we haven't been fluoridating the water. I also want to say you have discussed our Surgeon General of Florida, who is against fluoridating the water. There have been to date recently, I believe the 16th city that just banned fluoride in water was Naples. Just did that within the last couple of weeks. So everybody, you're considering putting fluoride in the water. Everybody else is talking about taking fluoride out of their water. You want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to put it in. Why put it in when clearly there are studies that show that it's bad for our children? So that's the major concern. And ADHD. I mean, I don't know if you can't miss how many people, kids now, are dealing with ADHD, attention deficit disorder, and many other neurotoxic things. It also affects the thyroid. Hypothyroidism is a greater risk of hypothyroidism. There's so many medical problems with fluoride that, in my opinion, I'm recommending that you terminate this program. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole. I reside at 25822 Pinehurst Street in Sorrento, Florida. My name is Nicole, and I happen to be a practicing registered nurse in this city. As nurses, we are called to not only educate but advocate for our communities. We are also tasked with providing informed consent. I am here today to ask this committee to vote no to adding fluoride into our city's public water systems, as more evidence has come out to verify its risk versus benefit. It has been deemed that it is a public health hazard on a federal level after a federal court judge ruled that fluoride has been classified as a neurotoxin and that more studies should be done, ordering the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, to mitigate the now known risks. A way to do this is to prevent municipalities from buying these toxic chemicals and adding these chemicals for purposes of medicating the population. By definition, a neurotoxin is a harmful substance to the nervous system. This means repeated exposure, regardless of dosing, over lengthy periods of time, could cause symptoms that could cause widespread central nervous system issues such as intellectual disability, persistent memory impairments, bone fractures, epilepsy, and dementia, just to name a few. This is what we call informed consent. Most of our residents would not know this information about what is being placed into their public water and deserve not only to know, but to be informed. Fluoride, by definition, is considered a medical intervention that is prescribed by a physician, typically a dentist. It is disclosed to the public that fluoride is good for our teeth and that it can decrease tooth decay. However, more recent data suggests that there may be more harm than good. Where chlorine is treating water, fluoride is treating people. Our next appointed HHS candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has also voiced its harmful effects. And on November 22nd of this year, our very own State Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, called on our state cities and municipalities to remove fluoride from our public water systems. The most recent communities to remove fluoride and reject it were Perry, Florida, Collier County, Brooksville, Florida, Winter Haven, Florida, Stewart, Florida, and Naples, Florida. We also want to make sure that our communities know what is being put into their food and water. And again, this is informed consent so that they can agree to these medical interventions. If we are still on the fence about fluoridation, we ask that you please call to pause adding fluoride to your public water systems to see what our state and or federal government may change. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kiana Rubenfeld. This is my first time to one of these, so I really am thankful that you guys are having us. My boyfriend and I just moved to Leesburg. We're new residents. We're so excited to start a new life here and today be a part of this whole city system. I live at 940 Bell Oak Drive here in Leesburg, and I'm so happy to be in my community, and you guys are about to meet another community member. I am due for a baby in about 7 days, and the latest member of Leesburg will be coming in a few days, hopefully, and on her behalf, I just want to say no to the fluoride in the water also. I understand when we have a project and we're so devoted to it and there's decades of momentum behind it, it kind of hurts to let go of this way, but also oftentimes you just have to revisit why you do something. And I just would love for my baby due on Christmas Eve 2024 to come into this community and not have to worry about the fluoride she drinks. She doesn't even have teeth to clean either. So kind of fair for her. And I'm just really hopeful with this new administration and all the momentum coming forward that we do review old ways, see what we may be missing, and just start anew. And this is a great implementation of such a thing. Keep it healthy, and then you can opt out on your own. You can use your own informed consent, your own personal opinion, and just add topical uses of fluoride as well whenever you see fit. I just really strongly say no, and I appreciate all of you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Karen Motley. I live at 2445 Farringdon Road in Tavares, Florida. I'm also a registered nurse in the Leesburg area, and I did some research on this, and I found this paper. Again, it's from 2012, but I know there's more recent data that's coming out also. But this gentleman, Paul Connett, has listed 50 reasons why we should not put fluoride in our water. And I'll just list a few of them. So he's got fluoride is the only chemical added to water for the purpose of medical treatment. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration classifies fluoride as a drug when used to prevent or mitigate disease. And so it's a medical treatment that you're putting in the water. Fluoridation is unethical. It's an informed consent. So with the FDA calling it a drug, there's no way to differentiate how much the dosage of fluoride that you're going to be giving to each individual person who's drinking the water. The dose cannot be controlled. Once the fluoride's put in the water, it's impossible to control the dose. Each individual receives different amounts based on how much water intake they take. The fluoride goes to everyone regardless of age, health, or vulnerability. And then also people who have renal problems also have retention problems with the water. Water fluoridation goes against leading principles of pharmacology, which is progressive from a stereotyped medication of the type of 1 tablet 3 times a day, etc. People now receive fluoride from many sources besides water. It's available in their toothpaste, their mouthwash. So there's other sources that they can get the fluoridation and prevent the tooth decay without it systemically going into your body. Fluoride is not an essential nutrient. No disease, not even tooth decay, is caused by fluoride deficiency. Then it's got the level in mother's milk is very low. That's for a specific reason. Fluoride accumulates in the body. Healthy adult kidneys excrete 50 to 60% of the fluoride. The remainder accumulates in the body largely, calcifying tissues as the bones, pineal gland. Infants and children excrete less fluoride from the kidneys and take up 80% of ingested fluoride into their bones. No health agency in fluoridated countries, which I did pull that up, there are 195 recognized countries. Only 25 of those countries actually fluoridate their water. There's about 40 more, but that's just a small list. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wade Winker, 728 Boylston Street, Leesburg. I rise in favor of fluoride. I'd like to see you continue to moving forward with this project. There have been some misstatements both by commissioners and by the good people of Leesburg that have commented so far. So recently, a federal judge was approached by anti-fluoridation groups petitioning that he should take some action about fluoridation in water supplies. In his ruling, he concluded, and you can check this out, with uncertainty that elevated fluoride levels could be dangerous and ordered the director of the EPA to investigate and report back. So far, there's been no report. The EPA has not had enough time to get any new information, which has been alluded to this evening, but they haven't found that information and haven't brought it back. Robert Kennedy Jr. took this as a mandate to remove fluoride from the U.S. water supplies. Mr. Kennedy does not have a position in the U.S. government right now. He looks like he will in the near future. Shortly thereafter, Florida's new Surgeon General made inflammatory comments that community water fluoridation is public medical malpractice. This leaves leaders in communities like yourselves across the state and country frightened that community water fluoridation initiative could be harming the voting public. At the end of the day, your charge is to represent your constituency, but RFK Jr. and Florida's Surgeon General have no jurisdiction in this room, nor will they ever, whoever holds those positions. A decision by the EPA could. So that could be coming up in the future. There have understandably been many knee-jerk reactions by several communities, which were referenced earlier, to act immediately. You're frightened. I get it. We don't tend to make good decisions when we're frightened. Bleach and fluoride are added to community water supplies to prevent diseases. It is not a medicine. Iodine is added to salt. That is to eliminate thyroid disease. Fluoride has been safely added to water for 80 years. Fluoride in the water at the right concentration reduces dental decay by 25% with no adverse effects as long as it's at the right concentration. All the reports that the groups presented to the judge were with elevated fluoride levels. No one's refuting that. You've got to do it at the right level. The discussion should be about fluoridation versus over-fluoridation, and currently community water fluoridation is in 70% of U.S. municipalities. It's recommended by the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Disease Control, and the U.S. Department of Health. Thank you for your time. Again, I rise in favor of moving forward.
Thank you, Wade.
Mayor, I have something here I'd like to give to each of you commissioners. This is the periodic table of elements. You might remember this from
high school.
I haven't seen one of these in a while. High school or college classes, whatever.
Fluoride and chlorine, biology.
I am Dr. Alan Hayes. I live in Umatilla. I am a retired dentist. I do have an active dental license because I do charity work from time to time. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My thoughts of being here this evening are truly a mixed group of thoughts and questions. The first question that comes to mind is, why are we even having this discussion? Did you not recently vote to begin the fluoridation of your municipal water supply? Did not that issue gain the full support of the dental community of Lake County? What has changed in that brief time? Oh, yes, a physician who's never been to dental school a day in his life had a press conference and made some reckless comments about fluoridation being, quote, a public health malpractice, unquote. That statement, my friends, is completely irresponsible. I am embarrassed that any public official would speak so irresponsibly. Statements like that remind me of the person who walks into a crowded room and yells fire. It's just completely irresponsible. I am here this evening to tell you fluoridation has been acclaimed by internationally recognized health organizations as the greatest public health policy of the 20th century. Mr. Mayor, I began my career in the wonderful profession of dentistry 57 years ago. I know what I'm talking about from seeing countless numbers of patients over the years. Many of those patients had the benefit of fluoride in their drinking water, but many did not have that advantage. The difference in the incidence of decay was quite evident just by looking into their mouths. All of us want to gain the greatest effectiveness of any health-related therapies. In the administration of fluoride, that maximum effect only comes from the incorporation of the fluoride into the original formation of the enamel as the tooth is being formed in the bone of the patient. The fluoride being present in the formation of enamel makes that enamel much more resistant to decay. Some will tell you that toothpaste and rinses are sufficient. The topical administration of fluoride on a tooth is just like a lady putting on makeup. The effect is only temporary. As I said earlier, the fluoride ions need to be available as the building block enhancement when that tooth is being formed. As a dentist, I'd make much more money if there were more decayed teeth, so it would help me if you don't put fluoride in it. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm proud that my profession tries each and every day to educate our patients to minimize the diseases affecting their teeth and the entirety of their body. We aren't here with money as our driving force. We're striving for the health of our patients. We're telling you about proven therapies. As for me personally, as I mentioned earlier, I no longer practice except for occasionally helping in charity clinics such as the one here at the First Baptist Church. I'm here because of the children of Leesburg today, who are going to be the parents of children in the future, deserve to have the advantage of fluoride protection in their teeth. You have that ability, and to not give that to them is, in my personal opinion, unkind at least, if not irresponsible, and maybe even a dereliction of your duty as a commissioner. I'm sure none of you, absolutely none of you would consider doing that. Would you even think one moment of removing chlorine from your water supply? I certainly hope not, because the diseases would run rampant through your community. I can assure you that too much chlorine in the water will kill people. Proper dosage is always the key to proper administration. Please remember that on the periodic table right here, you will see that F. That's for fluorine. Directly below it, in the same chemical family, is chlorine. Every city in America is required by law to make sure you maintain the proper levels of chlorine, and you have to make reports frequently, and you have to do the same thing for fluoride. Fluoride is a proven therapeutic advantage. Absolutely. Please carry forward with the addition of fluoride to your water. The children of Leesburg deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Might be the last person up here, I don't know, but I guess I'm disappointed. I've been, trying to get this project going back along about two and a half years. And I know that a couple of the commissioners have been against this from the get-go. I'm just so disappointed because I feel in my heart that I have to question whether either one of these commissioners, if they would want Dr. Lapido to be their personal physician after you've listened to him talk about some of the things that he does talk about. I'm not surprised that soon he'll be telling you that smoking is good for you and that you should be smoking 2 packs a day. He is fairly reckless with what he says. I understand your concern about starting something and then maybe because of the current administration coming in that you'll have invested into something that you have to undo. So I guess I could understand the pause aspect of this procedure. But, to use, and I'm afraid that, some of our, population or the people that are here, they get their information from sources, but sometimes they never actually go to the actual source. And if you go to the actual source of a lot of these studies about neurotoxins that they've talked about, the levels of exposure to the fluorine is far beyond what the American Dental Association or the CDC or anybody is actually recommending. We're talking about 0.7 parts per million. It's an infinitesimal amount. And why it can't be, accomplished with just toothpaste or a mouth rinse is because it needs to be incorporated into the enamel as it's being developed, which means it has to be ingested. I hate to let people know, but fluorine is a natural, element. And so there's a lot of areas in Florida where the fluorine is already in the water. St. Augustine, Jacksonville. I used to live in Colorado Springs. It was there. I like to say I don't have any cavities, and I'd like to think that my IQ level is adequate. And I just don't know what to say about that. I hate when people use some scary or fear tactic to accomplish a goal. And I feel like that's sort of what's happened here tonight. And, I hope that you think about that and maybe reconsider this a little bit and don't just jump to the conclusion that the current administration is just going to. I just don't think they're going to undo 75 years of something that has worked out fairly well for the American population. Thank you.
Can you please give us your name and address, because you didn't do that?
Okay, it's David Wollenschlager, and it's 33050 Professional Drive, Leesburg, Florida. You're welcome.
Any other public comment? So back to us. Any comments from the commission? So as a recommendation, we have 3 potential things that can happen tonight. We can move forward, we can stop it, or we can pause. The pause, as Grant pretty much said, it has some risk to the city.
Yeah, and I think
eliminate that.
maybe there's a fourth option of let us perhaps spend the next couple of weeks trying to engage the contractor to get a little bit of clarity as far as whether or not we could strike a deal with them to avoid any delay claim exposure or anything like that. So I think Al had suggested earlier that if there's no decision made, I guess, tonight on the issue, we could report back as far as discussions with the contractor. I think Cliff was maybe going to reach out to them to gauge where they are as far as whether they're willing to work with the city or not. If they are willing to work with the city, then the pause option might become a little bit more appealing to some if it takes away potential exposure to delay claims from the contractor.
So are there other comments? Any motion?
So you're saying, Grant, pause till you get with the contractor. You're talking about sometime coming back in January?
Yes, sir. I think to get more clarity as far as what might happen if we pause it. The unknown right now is what the contractor's reaction would be, what their costs might be, what costs they might be looking to push onto the city. But it's possible that they would be willing to agree to a pause for some period of time. We just don't know what they might be agreeable to at this point without talking to them.
So, Al, I mean, we bought the majority of the equipment.
Yes.
You've got the design work.
Yes.
So if you terminated it, and at a later date, next year, 2 years from now, whatever, you wanted to pick it back up because something changed, you've got all the equipment. You just put it back out for bid, right?
Unless we sell it.
Well, yes, yeah,
So,
sure. So I mean, I'll make a motion. We just terminate this, and if it comes back up at a much later date, something we want to look back into, we can look into it then. But I think we just terminate it now. I think the pause, it seems like it gets very complicated. So I make a recommendation. We just terminate moving forward on the fluoride.
Okay, we got a motion to terminate. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion on that? All right, roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
yes.
Commissioner Berry. No. Mayor Burry.
No.
I'll make a motion to continue the contract as is.
Can we get a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I really don't think we should be moving forward on an issue spending hundreds of thousands of dollars more of taxpayer money when we have other cities that are already doing this, that are looking to stop it, and we're going to be the ones to move forward with it. I think it's craziness. I mean, I don't think we continue to move forward on an issue that, you know, there's a lot of unanswered questions out there. And again, I go back to the fact that a lot of people in the city don't want fluoride put in their water, and I think we should take that in consideration. We shouldn't be telling them what they have to drink. And like I said, moving forward, especially with what's going on now, I think that's craziness.
I was open to a pause because the way I read the packet, today for today was the contractor was going to start in January. I thought we had until April to make a decision with really no contractual issues whatsoever. But now that that's a little muckied up, I really don't want to waste time on that. I don't want to continue to spend more time on this. We spent a lot of time on this in 2024. And I know it's been a tough, controversial decision, but it's just time to move forward.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Eastman?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. All right. So now we'll move on to, actually, if the rest of the agenda is going to go forward, if you guys, any of you want to duck out real quick, we'll take a minute pause here.
Should ask them.
Oh. Yeah, we're going to do public comment now, so. All right. So we'll come back to order. We'll move to item 4, which is public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items anyone would like to pull? Nothing from...
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call. Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Move on to item 6, which is public hearings and non-routine items. Second reading of ordinances. We have none. So we'll move on to first readings. Would someone please introduce 6B, 1, 2, and 3?
I'll introduce 6B, 1, 2, and 3 to be read by title only.
6B1, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 2.82 plus minus acres, being generally located east of Sleepy Hollow Road and south of Park Hill Avenue, lying in Section 29, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 5, and providing an effective date. 6B2, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 2.82 plus minus acres from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg SEM Sunnyside Estates medium for property generally located east of Sleepy Hollow Road and south of Park Hill Avenue, lying in Section 29, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 2.82 plus minus acres from Lake County R1 rural residential to City of Leesburg R1 low-density residential to allow for residential development for property generally located east of Sleepy Hollow Road and south of Park Hill Avenue, lying in Section 29, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy. Dan, would you like to come up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. This is, as Andy noted, annexation, small-scale comp plan, and rezoning for 2.82 plus or minus acres east side of Sleepy Hollow Road, south of Park Hill. The proposal for this property is simply 8 single-family homes. On the second case, which is the small-scale comp plan, that would take the comp plan from Lake County Urban to City of Leesburg, Sunnyside Estates medium density, which allows 3 units per acre. On the third case, which would be the rezoning, it would go from County R1, which is rural residential, to City of Leesburg R1. So this is not a PUD, it's just a standard zoning because it's very small and very similar to everything else that's in that area. 8 single-family residences, 7,000 is the minimum lot size. What's being offered is right at 9,000. Standard 30-foot setbacks, 2 floors, 2 parking spaces off-street for each unit. We will, by the time this is built, we will have amendments into our code, which will address the dark sky lighting, the trees in each yard, and
Road standards.
sorry, sir.
Road standards.
Yes, sir. We'll have the trees, grass, dark sky lighting, and anything else that we need to have in there. We're making those changes in 2025 to our land development code as a result of the new comp plan. This project will be on city water and wastewater, no wells of septic, and Lake County Public Works has weighed in and said they'll need to donate right-of-way so that there will be enough right-of-way to have turn lanes. So 8 houses.
Questions for Dan? Anybody? Any questions for the petitioner? I don't know if they're here, but does anyone have any questions? Is there any public comment on this? This is a first reading, so we'll have a second reading
January 27th.
January 27th. All right, would someone please introduce 6B, 4, 5, and 6?
Introduce 6B, 4, 5, and 6, to be read by title only.
6B4, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 9.94 plus minus acres, being generally located north of Dewey Robbins Road, east of U.S. Highway 27, lying in Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, provided that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3 and providing an effective date. 6B5, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 9.94 plus minus acres from Lake County rural to City of Leesburg low-density residential for property generally located north of Dewey Robbins Road, east of U.S. Highway 27, lying in Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B6, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 9.94 plus minus acres from Lake County A agriculture to City of Leesburg SPUD, small planned unit development, to allow for 48 townhomes and 15,000 square feet of commercial for property generally located north of Dewey Robbins Road, east of U.S. Highway 27, lying in Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Dan, would you please come up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the Cronin Dewey Robbins project. The proposal is for an annexation, small scale, and rezoning of 9.9 plus or minus acres. The general location is on the north side of Dewey Robbins Road, east of US 27. The request is for future development of 48 attached single-family units. What that generally means is townhouses, with a commercial component of 15,000 square feet. On the commercial component, that would be limited to medical, veterinary, self-storage, personal services, such as salons and assisted living. The future land use designation would go from Lake County Rural to City of Leesburg Low Density. And on the rezoning, that would go from Lake County A Agriculture to SPUD Small Plan Unit Development. Again, that's 48 attached single-family residential units, 15,000 square feet of commercial uses, looking at the PUD requirements. Front setbacks of 25 feet with lot depths of 100 feet and rear setbacks of 18 feet, which are standard in our PUDs. The house sizes, because they're townhouses, would be 1,000 square feet for each lot, 2 off-street parking spaces for each unit, 2-floor maximum height. Now, if they chose to go strictly to single family, they would have to go by the R1 single-family residential zoning areas with 50-foot lot minimums. There are architectural standards required, 35% of the property in open space, dark sky lighting, trees in each yard, 25-foot landscape buffer around the entirety of the project. St. Augustine grass is prohibited due to its water usage. A fence is required along the east and west sides of the property, which would be a 4-foot decorative or a 6-foot privacy fence. Sidewalks required throughout. There is access on the site plan along Dewey Robbins Road and applicable requirements for turn lanes and accel decel lanes from Lake County. The main access point would be required to be a boulevard entry, which is basically has an 8-foot wide landscape area in the middle with additional width on the lanes for emergency vehicles to maneuver. Signage would be decorative entry features of 5 feet on each side. There's a small recreational space required. And there is the phasing or expiration clause, which gives 4 years for substantial commencement, or it automatically reverts to the RE1, which again is 1 acre per unit, not 1 unit per acre. So it required to break down into 1 acre. On November 21, the Planning Commission meeting was held. Planning Commission recommended a denial. That denial was based on the density and the commercial uses. I'm ready to answer any questions. I believe we have representatives from LPG here tonight. There they are. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I have a couple of questions.
I got it.
And it's presently zoned ag.
Yes, sir.
And the property to the east and the property to the west of this property, what is that zoning?
The zoning immediately to the east and immediately to the west are also zoned ag.
Also zoned ag. So what's being proposed is to plug a piece of ag property out and make it pretty much high-density residential at 48 units on 10 acres in the middle of ag property on both sides.
If I'm not mistaken, there's 10 acres of ag on each side.
Okay.
And then to the north and south are PUD zonings. And then when you skip that 10 acres to the east, that goes into another PUD zoning. Your point is understood, sir.
Dewey Robbins 2-lane road?
Yes, sir.
And under the current zoning in the county, the ag, my understanding, would allow 1 unit per 5 acres?
That is my understanding as well.
So presently in the county, they could build 2 dwelling units.
Yes, sir.
So 2 dwelling units in the county, but they want to come into the city and all of a sudden now be able to build 48 dwelling units. And under the county zoning, they could get 2.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for Dan? Are there questions for the petitioner? Did you have any?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, this is a first reading, so we will have a second reading. Actually, before we do that, are there any public comments on this?
Lori Brown, 6217 Dewey Robbins Road. This is a little bit east of us. We all live in the country for a reason. We do not want you to approve this because, again, it's rural. We all have cattle, like directly south of this whole area is nothing but cattle. Orange groves. The kids that are here, they ride around on their ATVs. It's just not, Dewey Robbins Road is not a road to put commercial on. So some of us own 5 acres, some of us own 40 acres. It's just not an area to do this project, so I beg you to say no. That's it.
Other public comment?
My name is Matt Rail. I own 6429 and 6255. So last time we had a picture of the actual water and what they were trying to section it out, because it made a lot more sense, especially to the commissioners. Which, by the way, I just want to say thank you for anonymously saying no to the whole project. I appreciate that. And Mr. Mayor, it's the first time meeting you, and I'm sorry I didn't elect you because I'm in the county, but there we go. Perfect. Thank you for whoever did that. So I own the land directly to the west of it. I also own the adjoining property that's to the west of that again. And we have representatives that are basically that whole square. Randy and them, they live directly to the right. The property over to the right of where Randy is, that's all being developed with single family homes. That whole thing. Where I'm over here on the side, you have 2 estates on either side of that property, Mayor. 2 estates. And these are not like a little farming kind of deal, you know, these are actually beautiful homes, and I own one of them. But anyways, to come through and put 52 townhomes along with a commercial building in that should not be allowed. That's like me coming over probably to the mayor's house and building 52 townhomes next to you. Now, there's no lots behind us because that is actually by St. John's Authority, the water behind there. So from that aspect, from where Randy lives on the right of where the red is checked out, where they're wanting to do it, all the way to 27 is owned by only 4 individuals. So what I ask for you is let's keep that the way that it was. You guys are going to develop all the way around it. You already planned it. You already rezoned it to city. We understand that. Nothing we can do about it. But if you could leave these estates pristine the way that they were, it'd be something else. It'd be beautiful. Because it's all hills out there, as they say it, right? It's Howling Hills. So that's all I'm asking for you all to do. Please, just keep it the same way that it was when we purchased it. And thank you for your time.
Any other public comment?
Hello. My name is Joyce Graham, and I live at 6545 Dewey Robbins Road. We're the Grahams, and we live right next door to the Cronins. Randy and I bought that property 35 years ago, and it was told us it would be a rural protected area, and it was to stay that way. And they've changed it already, and we've put 35 years of blood, sweat, and tears into that property, and this would devastate us. So I'm asking you, please, not to do it. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Leo Dominguez. I'm here on behalf of our family and our neighbors. We don't believe this is the correct location for this particular project. A commercial site doesn't belong on Dewey Robbins Road. This is something that should be out on Route 27 where people can make better use of it. Not only this will convert our country living and setting to city when this is originally zoned for agricultural, but it will also disturb the peace of the residents of that area with the extremely high traffic. Traffic has already increased tremendously and will only become a nightmare to get in and out of our homes. In addition to that, we have small children, and we would love to continue raising and teaching them the value of agricultural and farming. This is not even enough space for school zone for this area for a project of this nature. I truly believe that this is the last generation that is going to live how all of us here grew up in life, like real life, farming and cows and all that. We moved to this area, me and my family, and we fell in love with the country lifestyle because we come from city. And I wouldn't want the privilege to be taken away from my kids and my family. Just a thought to be think of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Again, this is a first reading. You said 127? Yes, sir. Also, the second reading on this will be January 27th of 24.
25.
Or 25, isn't it? What am I writing wrong? Hey, already caught myself, and it's not even there yet.
27, 25.
All right, so we'll move on to item 6C. This is non-routine items. Someone please introduce 6C1.
Introduce 6C1 to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a construction services agreement with Kingdom Construction Services, Inc. for the construction and improvements to Susan Street Sports Complex and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Discussion.
Yeah, I will. And Anna, if you could put up the presentation on there. Perfect. Thank you. So this is kind of the long-awaited day on the go or no-go for the Susan Street Sports Complex. In your packets, but not available for the public unless you can you cue that up, this picture that's in the packet? And flip-flop it real quick. But so the project seeks, if you go down to tab that one. No, Susan Street, that one. Yep, now scroll down. Keep scrolling. To, bam, that one. So that's the overview of the concept that we're trying to do. And in the fancy vernacular that we've used is we are trying to refurbish Susan Street from a mixture of diamond sports and rectangle sports to just rectangle sports. And then hopefully in the future, pushing out our diamond sport activities to Sleepy Hollow. So this project seeks to build the one major stadium field and 4 other fields. And we still have the soccer field in there, as well as parking with the main entry off of US 27. The concept is to have more facilities to be able to host, sponsor, and conduct football, soccer, rugby, lacrosse, all those rectangular sports. And then a big major part of the project is to have that entryway off US 27. So now if you jump over to the presentation, Anna. So we solicited bids. I believe we got 4 bids back in. Pretty wide-ranging, and the low bidder was Kingdom Construction at the $10.56 million mark. Obviously, this was over our budget estimate. We had prepared a number of budgets for this project. I think at inception, we went from $3 million to $5 million. We had, I think, fiscal year 24 budgeted at $5 million. With various sources. As we pushed into this fiscal year 25, we adjusted the $5 million to $7 million. I understand the price tag. It's more than anticipated. So on that note, what I think we do feel comfortable about with this number is we have beat this up left, right, and sideways, and we really think the price is the price. On that note, I would point out neighboring communities doing similar projects, seeing the same bids. We've cross-checked this with the construction manager form of government, and their initial numbers came back at what the bids were. When we were receiving those initial numbers from the construction manager form of government, we said, no way, this can't be that expensive. Now we've gone out to bid, and it is. The $10.56 million is about, I think, it's what the market price is to do the concept that we're doing. One of the things that I will bring to your attention is in the public sector. I think we hear all the time that we want creative financing, we want different sources of money, and we want to accomplish projects that benefit community. This project does that. So while the price tag on this is, I rounded up some numbers on the chart before you, 10.6. There are several different funding sources. First, the state legislative priorities. So the state legislature has ranked this as a priority project. And while the funding at $375,000 is not a lot of funding, $375,000 from the state legislative funding project means you got the attention of your state delegation. So that meant former Senator Baxley and former Representative, now soon to be Senator True now, supported this project, and were able to move the state legislature as well as the governor to fund this project. So while that's not a big number, that's a significant number in that the state is sponsoring this project, which means they see the merits of it. Second, we have the All-American Recovery Program. We did have $3 million allocated for this. 2.4 is what's remaining because the other 600 we've spent on design. We have Lake County TDC funding. We hope that the Lake County TDC funding in the amount of it's just a little bit under $1 million was going to move up to $2 million. It looks like at this time the TDC, the second portion of the TDC funding, will not come through while the county does a capital improvement modification and some other TDC funding. So they're not in a position right now to increase the funding from TDC dollars. Recreation impact fees, we have $500,000. That's city funding. Where we started to change the allocations on this project was this fiscal year, and we went to the 441.27 CRA. That's how we brought in an additional $2 million of funding. That's how we got this project funded up to the $7 million level. To bridge the gap between the $7 million and the $10.56 million, we're recommending to go back to that same well and use the remaining allocations of the 441.27 CRA. So let me digress a second and describe why in the world do we have $6 million of CRA money sitting around. When I was first hired as your city manager in late 2013, one of the first issues that we faced was the upside down increment on the CRA. So what does that mean? That means when we created the 441.27 CRA, we issued $15 million worth of debt, and it was a balloon note in 2010, and we based it on growth that we thought the CRA, that 441.27 CRA would grow, which ultimately would fund the balloon note. That didn't happen. That didn't happen because that was pretty much the same time that we created the CRA and issued $15 million of balloon note debt, the economy crashed. So what immediately happened was our increment was negative. That means our CRA didn't generate any money. Remember this, in the CRAs, the county contributes their increment and we contribute our increment. Those two pieces put together create the TIF, or the tax increment finance, that we use to fund projects in the district. So one of the first things we did over 10 years ago was we worked hand in fist to get the increment modified. So we are probably one of the only cities in the state who was able to recalibrate our increment after that increment was created. A lot of that was due in part to Lake County being a home rule county. So we got a lot of deference there from the county commission, and we were able to recalibrate that note. While we were recalibrating that TIF increment, we were extremely concerned about the impacts of the debt that was issued on the general fund. As a result, before I got here, we stopped the project. It was the 44127 lights that you see coming down. We spent about half of those debt proceeds, about $7.5 million, and then we used the other $7.5 million to start paying debt. I think we used some gas money. But upon my entry, we were running out of that cash, and we were concerned that the general fund wouldn't be able to absorb that debt as what normally happens. Your general obligation of your general fund absorbs debt if your TIF can't do it. So we were about to that point when we recalibrated. When we recalibrated, we actually started seeing growth in the increment. That growth pretty much followed the trend of being able to pay off the debt. But from about 13 to 15, 16 time frame, we were still extremely cautious about spending the 44127 increment because there is a requirement to spend the increment. But I think we were justified in doing so, and we essentially pooled that cash so that we could cover the debt without it impacting the general obligation of the city. Now fast forward to today in fiscal year 25, where the increment brings in $3 million a year, and really the only obligation of the increment is the debt, and the debt is about $1 million. I think the debt retires in about 2033, where it's about $9 million left on the debt with $6 million in cash in the CRA. I tell you all of that to tell you that the Susan Street project is a significant one of complexity and impact on the city, and you can easily absorb shifting the cash from the 44127 CRA into this project and still be able to cover your debt obligation and probably still have surplus revenues into the future. So having said that, I think then you need to be a little bit creative in where the sources of money come from this. So in a $10.6 million project, the city only has about $3.6 million of our own invested. So this project gives us a $10.6 million project for $3.6 million. That's 35% of the project is funded by us. Because as you go down that chart, what you see is you see state money, you see federal money, you see county money, city money, and then when you get to the CRA money, which now we're saying is $600,000, or excuse me, $6 million, half of that is state, half of that is the county increment, and half of that is our increment. So the project, frankly, for lack of better words, does a great job at using other resources at other jurisdictions to bring a quality improvement to the city of Leesburg. Having said that, I did want to take a second, if you flip it, Anna. There's some places that you can look potentially to cut. The first thing I'm going to point out is the bottom number here. Of the $10.56 million, $1 million is contingency. So that helps us if the unforeseen things arise or if we don't spend. The contract, although it awards 10.56, $1 million of that is still contingency. We list a couple of places where you can look to start cutting, and basically it's bleachers, it's flags, at the bleachers at the major stadium field, bleachers at the side fields, and the sound system. We add that up, we can cut about $271, we think, off the top. The next area gets a little bit more problematic, but it shifts into doing the parking lot, if you go back to that original picture, a little bit different. Instead of asphalt paving this parking lot, it would call for chip and mill. And instead of doing some other improvements on the entryway, we can probably lessen that entryway up a little bit. We called for an initial, basically a mill of the existing areas. We could probably forego that and do a tar and seal. Frankly, that cut I wouldn't recommend. because one of the ways and one of the questions still in this project is, do we have easements and access through that property? Today, the answer is no. However, we've made significant strides. We've talked to the developer Benderson, who owns the plaza. We've talked to Pat Sales, and we've talked to Pizza Hut. And we're very close to getting easements, perpetual easements that allow us to build these improvements without having to pay the owners of that property any money, because our argument with them has been, in exchange for creating and investing in your property with a massive change to your parking lot, which will probably help bring business to you, let us use it. And we feel confident that probably the next 90 days before significant construction starts, that we'll have those easements wrapped up. If you go back to the other presentation. So all of those contingencies put together is a $1.5 million cut. Honestly, that's not a significant cut, and I think it also starts to degrade the quality of the project. We've said if we're going to do something a number of times around here, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. We think there's some other areas that as we get into some value engineering under contract, we can adjust. So we feel confident that we're going to stay within that budget parameter of 10.65. And I think our history of managing projects, once we've issued the construction contracts, has been getting to the final construction contract number. It's a moving needle, but once we've got the price, got the bid, I think our history on all the projects that we've even mentioned tonight, the aquatic facility, Pine Street, the Venetian Center, the Resource Center, the addition of the Teen Center. Once we've gotten to that, I'll even throw out the $40 million sewer plant. We're on schedule to beat that number. So once we finally get to the number, I feel extremely confident that we'll be pretty close to where we end up. And I don't think this project should be considered any different. The one thing as well that I would be completely remiss if we didn't talk about is the critical nature of the American Recovery Act. The American Recovery Act has been a little bit of a moving target since the federal government issued us the $11 million as far as what you can spend it on and when you have to spend it. The latest, and honestly, I won't mince any words, and they're not to be blue or red, but just straight talking, as you know, there's obviously a shift in administrations that's coming up. The latest change that came out probably later this summer was that the federal government notified all recipients of the American Recovery Act that your allocations need to be made by December 31st, 2024 of this year. The money has to be spent by December 31st, 2025. So this evening marks a critical junction because obviously 2.4 of that is still there. We need to get this project under contract if we're going to use American Recovery money on this project. And you need to do it this evening. I would go as far to say that if you don't put this money into this project or you don't do this project, we'll need a special meeting before the end of the year where we would then reallocate that money. Honestly, there is another reallocation source where we would go to, and that would be back to the sewer plant, which we've double checked. That project I just mentioned earlier was $40 million. 10 of it was sewer fund cash, and 30 of it was debt. The American Recovery money can't be spent on the debt, but it can be spent on the cash. So if you don't do this project, I think formally by resolution, you need to go back and amend how we originally said we were going to spend the American Recovery Act money and modify that before the end of the year so we can clear the books and put that remaining $2.4 million into the sewer fund. On that note, as a side, we also had that issue with the marina. The marina project, we were not able to get out to bid, but administratively we've shifted some wires. where we're going to show that we use the American Recovery Act on the purchase of the Tropic and what we were going to use on the Tropic goes to the Marina. So we feel covered there. With that, I passed out to you here at the end kind of the bullet by bullet, Anna, if you flip one more page, the bullet by bullet bid sheet, the bid tabulation. My apologies for how small it was. You either get it in that size or you'd get it in humongous sizes to where you could read it. But essentially, I highlighted the cuts from where those areas go. One other area that I mentioned, and let me just, because I glossed over it, Anna, if you go back one, I mentioned bleachers modification. I mentioned parking lot mills instead of asphalt. The other area is the reduction in field size, which probably gets you in the neighborhood 3.6, about 700,000. I think to some of you commissioners, I talked on the phone and I said that number was $500,000, so I was a little short on that. All in, that's again 1.5. One of the things that I specifically learned is that rugby fields are significantly larger than regular football or soccer fields. So to get the rugby part of the concept, we had to go larger fields. So that's increasing our cost by that number, that $750,000 number, which it goes into turf, what goes along with turf, and then it also pushed us a little bit into the wetlands. So we had that mitigation. So you'll remember maybe a month or two ago, we did that one purchase order for the $145,000, which got us started on mitigation. I think if you reduce the fields, that 145 is a little bit in question, but I also think that if you reduce the fields, we could probably get those mitigation bank credits sold. So I wouldn't be totally concerned about it. So to wrap up my presentation, our staff recommendation is that you move forward with the project. I think it's a complex one, and I think it is far-reaching as far as what it can do, and it has significant multiple jurisdictional support to where we're going to get potentially a $10.6 million project for about $3.8 million of our money.
Comments from the commission?
I'll start this. It is a lot of money, but I've had discussions with prior commissioners over the years, and they've always regretted not fighting for the full project, and they regret it because they're like, oh, we should have done this, and we cut back funds to make it adjustments, and we should have went with the full funds. This is a lot of money. I think going with the rugby-sized fields is smart. It gives us a lot of room for growth. This has been a project that's been in the works for a long time. Mayor Burry, you can speak to that. This is going to be really impressive for our kids in our community, and I think our kids deserve this. It'll make Leesburg even that much more better of a place to live and work, and I fully support this, and I recommend that we go with staff's recommendation.
Other comments?
Yeah, I mean, when this project was first brought up for discussion, it was, as Al said, it was around $3 million. Then it jumped to 5, then it jumped to 7. Now you're at 10.6. I mean, it's the project just never stops giving. I think it's a tremendous amount of money, and I think it's too much money for what you want to get out of it, the benefit of it. I mean, you throw in some change orders, you get $11 million here. So I just think it's a tremendous amount of money. At $3 million, but now you're up to, like I said, 10.6, and no.
From day one, I supported this whole concept of the triangular fields at Sleepy Hollow and the rectangular fields here. I watched the numbers grow. I grumbled and had heartburn at $7+ million a few months ago, and made comments that we need to cut that number back. I'm really struggling with $10.6 million for this project, and it pains me to say that. And I don't want to start chipping away at it, but I guess maybe I would a little bit. Let me back up just a little bit. I fully support renovating Susan Street for the benefit of our community and for the kids. The reason it's gotten larger was kind of this whole sports tourism, which I fully supported at 3, 5, 7 million. Well, I struggled at 7, but I was trying to swallow that number. But now, another 3 million on top of that. And betting on sports tourism, and I guess tonight I'm just struggling with that much money. I understand the sources and all that, but with everything going on in our city, I guess I'd like to drop back and find a way to do this for at least half. I don't even care about that. I want to cut it back to a project that clearly benefits our children. Maybe we could lay it out in a manner where down the road it could be, maybe you follow this site plan in a manner whereby future commissions down the road could add things to it, such as the stadium, et cetera. That's one idea, but this is a lot of money, $10.6 million. I'm still struggling with it.
I'd like to add a few comments, please. This will be in District 1, where majority of the residents probably have never played rugby or know anything about soccer. And, when I say this, I mean probably never anticipated in any of the sports activities. However, this project was all in existence when I came on board. And as I learned and listened, I saw the growth in the dollars, a lot of money, I do agree. But I'm also looking forward to the opportunity to have such in the area to improve the 27-441 corridor. I think with this project, it will bring in more businesses eventually. And I also would like to see how the children in the District 1 area, the Carver, Montclair, Woodland Park, all could benefit from some opportunities for jobs, and as well as teaching them and learning them how to play rugby and soccer at an early age for summer camps. That's what I'm trying to go with. So it is a big price, but I think in the long run, I'm praying that hopefully this will be a big return with the opportunities that will come behind it. So.
I think if this facility is anything like Susan Street, I think it will be. Susan Street. Sleepy Hollow, thank you. I think if this project is anything like Sleepy Hollow, the returns will be there.
I believe we still have money to spend at Sleepy Hollow. I think, aren't we still going to add a few more fields? Or are we?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
I bring that up because of the 27-441
so
CRA money.
The answer to that will be at this time now, that funding is questionable. Part of the concept that we were going to have over at Sleepy Hollow was hopefully we're going to get the additional TDC money. And it looks, so we got the original request for the TDC money was the $1 million, which is here. We went back to the county. We met with the TDC board, and we put together an overall $4 or $5 million request from them. It's $4 million. It was this $1 million plus another $1 million that we could spend here, and then $1 million over subsequent years. And basically, the TDC board approved that request for funding. So that's why you saw the $2 million in our budget request. And then our hope was in the out years, once this facility would be done, then we would move over with TDC monies and whatever other monies we could put together, discretionary sales monies or whatever at that time, and then put those towards Susan Street. So long story short, with the county now kind of putting in abeyance their funding for capital projects that aren't county projects from TDC dollars, those TDC dollars are questionable whether we get those in the future. Not saying we won't, but it's definitely not as an easy as path as we'd hope for. So where would dollars come for Sleepy in the future is a little bit of a question, but it's going to be on what your priorities are, probably in the not fiscal year 26, or this fiscal year, but probably say fiscal year 27, 28. Yeah, because I think this commission's kind of made clear that downtown parking and some of those things are the primary obligation. And so I feel comfortable that we get that covered at least this year and next year. So that's, let me use numbers 25 and 26. So that then would maybe open up some future discretionary sales tax dollars or whatnot for kick the can on funding Sleepy Hollow. Probably till 27.
I would also like to ask, will there be opportunities for, in the future, for other areas to extend the sports arena, meaning add to it different projects later on?
Yeah, I think that just goes right back to Sleepy Hollow. So at Susan Street, I think making this improvement pretty much taps out what that facility can do. So then we look to the Diamond Sports at Sleepy Hollow. And then some of the other smaller capital projects that you look to do, pickleball, skateboard park, I think has been talked about. Those would be smaller facilities, which I think we can probably host at a different spot. But as far as large projects, big acreage, significant dollars, this and Sleepy probably for the near future is probably about it.
Yeah, I mean, so we're losing 4 baseball fields at Susan Street, and we're not getting the 2 fields back at Sleepy.
I think that's a negative way to look at it.
Well,
I think
it's an accurate way.
Well, but I think if you talk to myself and you talk to staff, I think you had a conversation with
I did.
with Travis, and I don't think that was Travis's reaction to
I
how
didn't
you
say it was
prefaced
Travis's reaction. I said it's my reaction.
I understand it's your reaction, and my response to your reaction is I think that's a negative way to look at it. I think part of the concept was to get more baseball fields at Sleepy Hollow. We won't get that, but we'll still have our major bases met, as we discussed, Commissioner, today. Our major bases ensuring that our rec programs are taken care of, which we'll be able to do less than baseball fields. So your recreation director, not for 1 second, thinks that losing the baseball fields
But you didn't
is a
answer my
problem.
question. I
No,
didn't
I
ask
did
any
answer
of
your
that.
question.
No, you didn't. We're losing
I'm giving
4
the
baseball
other
fields.
side of the equation.
What I said yesterday is
I'm
no,
giving
is
the
correct or
other
not.
side of the
I don't want
equation.
the other side. I
Then
didn't
it's
ask you
not
the side.
correct, Commissioner.
Okay, we're
No.
not losing 4 fields and gaining none.
You're losing 4 fields and
Okay,
not
there you
damaging.
go. There you go. I didn't
can't
say nothing
answer
about
the question
damaging
that
anything. I asked
direction.
you a straightforward question.
You're
I want a
not
straightforward
losing
answer.
services.
We're losing 4 fields.
You're not losing services.
We're losing 4 fields.
You're not losing
You can't answer my.
services.
You won't answer my question.
I did. You're
No, you
losing
didn't.
4 fields and you're
Okay,
not
there you
losing
go.
services.
That's all I need.
Let's
That's
finish
all I
the
want.
entire. Let's read the whole agreement, Commissioner. Not one sentence, not one paragraph. The whole agreement.
Well,
Let's
there
tell the
is no
whole
agreement.
story.
I asked
the
a simple
whole
question.
story. You're asking a simple question that doesn't tell the whole story.
No, it's a simple question. Was it yes or no? It was a yes or no question.
I think I answered it.
Well, not really, but okay.
In any case,
Currently, at Susan Street, for the rest of the folks here, there are 4 baseball fields
that we lose, but your rec director believes that you continue programming for city sports. We don't lose any quality for the events that we're bringing in with the NCAA, and we continue to be able to market Sleepy Hollow for outside activities.
Correct.
So the additional fields at Sleepy Hollow is a bonus to expand Sleepy Hollow. It doesn't hurt us as far as being able to support those programs.
Right. And what we gain at Susan Street is 5 surface fields, while right now we have 1 there. And we keep saying rugby, but you could also throw lacrosse, which is a girls' high school sport now in Leesburg with nowhere to play. So that is another sport that can be played there. I have, for a long time, supported this project. I'm no happier than anybody with the price tag on it. I do feel that we have been moving towards a sports tourism type of small city. We bring in the best tournaments. We bring in girls softball. This will enhance those field sports, bringing people in. If you look at the physical location of this spot, it's in our fast food corridor. So more families coming to the field is going to improve the amount of money people spend in those areas. So it's a benefit to the business owners. We talk about, these dollars coming in with sports tourism, and that's important. But what's more important is what it's going to do for our kids, what it is going to do for our recreation department, having a place for our kids to call home. We have for years had our football programs practicing on fields all over the place because there's just not enough space. This is going to give our kids a lasting, good spot, and it's something we can be proud of in Leesburg, and I'm 100% behind it, as long as Al says we can pay for it. Any other comments?
Our kids to have pride where they play.
There you go. Makes a difference in the outcome. Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
No.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Would someone please introduce item 6C2?
I'll introduce 6C2A to be read by title only.
Confusing. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving donation of a surplus lot located at 1111 Beecher Street, Leesburg, Florida, to the Community Development Corporation of Leesburg, Inc., authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a special warranty deed conveying the lot and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
I think we beat this thing up pretty good earlier today.
Well, earlier
I'd love to see us go to roll call.
So, does anyone have questions on it with regard to it? Any
Just-
explanation needed?
This is the Dabney pool site,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
This is the city-owned Dabney Pool site.
I'd like to ask Leesburg CDC, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Not the other.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it-
Leesburg
What are your
CDC.
plans for this area? What are you thinking?
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, Commissioners. John Christian, Chairman of the CDC of Leesburg. We're excited about this opportunity to partner with the city. If you go down Harlem Avenue, many of you came to the groundbreaking about a year and a half ago. We constructed 3 homes on Harlem Avenue, and that's our goal vision for this property. When you ride down Beecher Street, that you will continue from Griffin to Beecher, you'll see homes on Beecher Street. We feel that active recreation spot at that location is not good for the neighborhood. It won't be good for any neighborhood. We just got through hearing people talk about a commercial on Dewey Robbins Road. This is a residential neighborhood. There should never have been a active recreation spot. I think the city now has an opportunity to correct that, and we envision at least 3 homes coming down Beecher Street to add to the school location and complete a residential neighborhood as it should be. If I can continue a little bit, Mr. Mayor, just to talk on the CDC, my board members are here. When we talked about the Carver Heights, and we met with the city manager, Commissioner Barrett, our city attorney, housing director, deputy city chief. We talked about the relationship with the CDC and the city, and the city manager is absolutely correct. The city has been tremendous in their support of the CDC and our redevelopment goals, and he's well off. We had no issues. We had no problems. We've been so supportive, and the city has been so supportive. But we're here tonight to kind of continue what's happening. On Harlem, one house, the second house, will be closing on Friday this week. And just so you know, the CDC takes pride in rebuilding our communities. And the CDC of Leesburg is not an East Leesburg CDC. We're a citywide CDC. So when people say, why are you on this side of town? We are the original CDC that encompasses the entire city. So we're not demographically bound. But the CDC and the consent decree, it talks about working together with the city. And we met with the city manager, city attorney. We talked about, and I think, Mayor, you asked city attorney, go, Grant, look at this, make sure that this is in what we're doing the right way with this consent decree. In that meeting, I asked the city attorney, am I off base? Am I thinking, my comments, my requests? And the city attorney said in that meeting that no, I was not. I was well in line with what the consent decree calls for, and working with the city and the CDC. One point, it talks about the city is participating, cooperating in the development of the CDC's comprehensive development plans. Talks about the city backing an initiative formulated by the CDC. It talks about supporting the CDC's proposed development projects and activities consistent with the comprehensive development plan. Many of you know you've been on this with us ever since 2023 when you adopted your surplus lot donation. Even when Sandra Wilson came and talked about the Live Local Act, and that was in September 2023, 25th. We're here just simply say we want to continue to rebuild our community. Now it comes with a risk. I do not tell you that this is an easy project. In fact, I text my realtor who's on the third house on Harlem, how's it going? She says, we had a showing on Saturday, but the buyer rode through the neighborhood, didn't like it, and canceled it. So we're running the risk by putting our money in Carver Heights. We believe that this is the only way you're going to rebuild and restore Carver Heights. And so the question comes up oftentimes about the CDC, and we feel we're doing a great job. We're good stewards of what has been given to us. And just because I'm a pastor, Matthew 25:14-30 talks about the talents that were given from the master and the servant. One got 5, one got 2, one got 1. The one that had 1 was taken and given to one that had 5. So don't even think for a moment that the CDC is doing so much. We want to do more, and we just believe that. But the more we do, God gives us that ability to do that. So we're here to say simply, want to continue to do what we've been doing. I know you got 3 lot cap, but I challenge you that in about 2 years you're going to come back and ask us to build more houses because you're going to see the work that we do here in our community. So go down Harlem, look at those houses, and that's Ms. Berry, Commissioner Berry. That's what we plan on doing with these lots, to complete a residential neighborhood and bring pride and honor back to that block.
So you're building how many homes?
Well, we got to. Of course, it's a piece of property not divided, so we have to get our surveyor to see how many we can build on it. So I don't know how many that will allow us to build. We hope at least 2, maybe 3. By planning director, if he can work with us as he always has, we're hoping to get at least 3.
And may I ask, what do you plan on doing with the NAACP building right to the left there? As far as how do you plan to construct an entrance and exit for houses there?
It'll come right off the road, right off of Beecher Street. Mm-hmm. So the driveway will come right off Beecher. And we support NAACP. Actually, our CDC was the one who paid for their roof to be put on their building about 5 years ago. They had a hole in the roof. We paid for the roof to be constructed. So we're supportive, and we hope that we'll do even more to assist them for beautification of Beecher Street.
Any questions for? Just from my position, John, I think the CDC does some wonderful things. I have a little reservation about giving away a piece of property that I think is better served. It was a swimming pool.
Yes, sir.
It did have a public purpose, and I'm just not in favor of giving that away
I understand.
This time.
And just for the record, you have another lot on Tuskegee. That's a park. So any park, but I'm sure it's on Tuskegee, just Holloman Park. It can only be used for a park. We found it out through the title search. So you have another location that you could put any recreational amenities. We feel just like a trolley. It's in a great spot, but it's back up to African American neighborhood. Romac, back up to African American neighborhood. We don't think it's there, but if we had a chance to do it again, we wouldn't put another industrial unit behind a residential neighborhood. And you look through our city and the African American community, it's been plagued by active recreation. I mean, Mary, your thing is dark lighting. Can you imagine living beside lights on a skate park or pickleball court beside your house? You won't want that. So we're saying, as protector of the community, part of our community development plan, more single-family houses is part of the plan. So we're saying to the commission, let us help rebuild our community the way we think it should be rebuilt, not because it was once a pool, because it's probably not the best use besides someone's house to have a city recreation facility. That's probably not the best use. You have Susan Street, you have Sleepy Hollow. So we feel though those facilities should be places where people are accustomed to have a lot of traffic. But we think to complete that neighborhood, it should be single-family homes. Mr. Hepburn. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Randy Hepburn. I live at 1939 Pruitt Street, Leesburg, Florida, born and raised in this town. Do anybody on this commission know how that property even became y'all's property, the city's property?
No
Anybody got any idea?
No idea.
It was donated by a family. It was donated to build that H.O. Dabney swimming pool. Right. So I'm quite sure we have reunions every year. We have class reunions. What it is, Ms. Every 3 years, Ms. Coney? Yeah, every 2 years. And people come from everywhere. And that's the first thing they ask about is the Carver Heights pool. Well, what would we be more proud of saying, Dan? We built some houses on that property. Oh, it's homes on that property now. Make people feel good. That's all we asking. We're not trying to take nothing up. I mean, we just want to be fair. We just want to be fair, you know.
Absolutely.
And if we figure fair, everybody gonna be all right. But if you don't know the history, see, if you know more history, that's why a little bit more research needs to be done in some of these thoughts that come along, and then we can do a little bit better on consideration of some of the projects that we decide to do without hurting certain people's feelings. But if you do the background on it, the city acquired that property through a black family there. I born and raised here. Anything y'all need to know about Leesburg, call Randy Hepburn.
I also like to add, the CRA had mentioned earlier, Commissioner Alderman had made a statement before wanting to do something for the community in that area, and unfortunately, the CRA members, commissioners have left. So just want to keep that in mind as well. So.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
No.
Mayor Berry?
No. Someone please introduce 6C 2B.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving the Community Development Corporation of Leesburg, Inc. funding request of $50,000 for the Pine Street Restaurant redevelopment and providing an effective date.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
The way I understand the project is the Leesburg CDC has a commercial kitchen they'd like to develop. The commercial kitchen shared between the
Restaurant.
businesses.
No, it's a restaurant. It's a restaurant.
If, with all due respect, Mr. Pastor
So
Christian.
tell us what you want.
All right, so basically, and Grant, you got to help me because you're not saying anything, but I'm wanting to ask the city attorney, help me understand the federal consent decree. The federal consent decree says the city shall participate and support the CDC's projects. We have a project that's asked for some lots to build single-family houses that's in the community development plan. So as you stated to me in the meeting we had offline, so I'm just trying to understand, so does the city not have to follow the federal consent decree?
Yeah, the city has to follow the federal consent decree, yes.
So, Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't want to go backwards, but it says in the federal consent decree that the city will support and back initiatives formulated by the CDC. It will support the CDC's proposed development projects. We just had a development project that the city said no. Yeah. So, Grant, I'm trying to figure out from the legal perspective, how is the city supporting the CDC development projects and activities consistent with the comprehensive plan when you're telling us no on request to build single-family homes, which in your development plan says we want to build single-family homes in the plan? So I'm confused. Is the city supporting, agreeing, abiding by the federal consent decree, or do they pick and choose when they say yes and no?
Well, I think the federal consent decree doesn't necessarily mandate that the city agree to any particular proposal in front of them. I think the concept is that the city will support the CDC's projects from a general standpoint, which I think at the CRA meeting earlier tonight was done, and that 2 lots.
We're talking about this one right here. We're
I
talking about
understand
city
what we're
commission.
talking about. 2 lots were donated to the CDC earlier tonight, and I believe that that's supporting the project. I think the concern that was announced by some of the commissioners tonight is that this particular lot is not suitable or is not perhaps a lot that the city's looking to get rid of because of the size, the specifications, whatever their reasoning or rationale might be, that this particular lot might be one that the city chooses to hang on to. So I think, the city's listening to the request, the city's considering the request in good faith. I don't know what the city commission's going to ultimately decide to do, but I don't think that the federal consent decree means that the city has to accept any application that's before them. I think that the city has some discretion to review what's been proposed and decide whether or not it's
And to your
acceptable or
point,
not.
the city looked at this list. They determined which lots were suitable for affordable housing. This lot was on there to be suitable for affordable housing. So that argument doesn't apply. This has been 18 months of the city looking at this list. They took the list off for Montclair because they said they didn't want to give the house away because they wanted to keep that lot. They said Alabama lots, keep those lots. This lot stayed on the list for 18 months. Now when it's time to make a decision, now your determination saying that it's not suitable. Shouldn't the city have
That's not
done
my determination. I don't have a vote up here.
Well, you shouldn't give legal counsel.
But, right, what I'm
Can I interrupt
suggesting.
just for a second? Because I think we got off track. Because we voted no on the lot, and this was on the $50,000 request, a motion on the
Right,
floor.
and it goes right back. Well, let's
Just
go back
making
to,
sure we're all talking about the $50,000.
But I want to make sure the city attorney is giving proper legal counsel when we make these decisions. I don't feel that took place. We had a meeting outside of the public. I thought we were trying to get all on the same page. I get into a meeting and don't like we're on the same page. Because I asked Grant, then Grant, am I off base in my thinking and consideration? He did say the city shouldn't have to rubber stamp, but this is not a rubber stamp when it's consistent with the city's comprehensive development plan that the community created through a professional person. So the $50,000, let me read the consent decree in the record because this is what the mayor, this is where the $50,000 request came from. Because I want to make sure that I guess I got to read into the record because I want to make sure we all on the same page. Page 6 of the federal consent decree, it says, let's go page 7. The city's attempt to attain funding and finance as described in paragraph 11 are subject to the availability of such finance or funding that can legally be used for stated purposes. To the extent the CDC believes that funding is available and the city believes it's not, the city and the CDC will consult promptly in an effort to reconcile their difference in view. So, Mr. Mayor, that's where we asked for the $50,000 to complete the restaurant on Pine Street, 323 Pine Street, which is Ms. Rose's restaurant. It's the second one that supports the CDC. So we feel that the city, in our attempts to continue the development on Pine Street, has $50,000. And so we're saying we asked for that to complete the restaurant, kitchen equipment in that restaurant. And we also tag in what we do on downtown. We city set aside, I think, gives out $250,000 grants for people to come in who have bought a building and renovate a building. I think we've given out about 3 $250,000 grants to businesses, most of them not even in Leesburg or in the state of Florida. So we're trying to say we want to be consistent what you do downtown. So that's where the CDC's request for the $50,000 came to complete a building restaurant on Pine Street. So we've already did interior renovations, we did the exterior renovations, and now we need extra help with the kitchen equipment at a cost of $50,000. I gave the city manager, it should be a packet of the equipment that Bill Mathias gave us as a quote of $54,000. So that's where the $50,000 request came from.
Pastor Christian, may I ask, please, with the $50,000, is that just for the kitchen area or for the actual?
That's for equipment.
for the equipment.
The city man, I think I gave him a list, a breakdown of every piece.
It's in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
every piece of equipment is for the equipment. We'll pay for the installation, but that's for the equipment, the quote that Mr. Mathias gave to the CDC.
So what's the project?
Yeah, that's what I'm
restaurant.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
It's a restaurant.
Who owns the restaurant?
CDC owns the restaurant. It's Ms. Rosa's.
So what is our return going to be?
Similar to what you do downtown. CDC's gonna hire your people. We're gonna run a restaurant that's gonna complete everything on Pine Street. So the city gets a new restaurant on Pine Street, just like on downtown when we give $250,000 to people who made an investment. They come and say, I made $1 million investment, give them $250,000. We're saying to you, we made over $200,000 investment on Pine Street. We need $50,000 to complete the restaurant. So you get a new restaurant on Pine Street in the city of Leesburg.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand. So the kitchen would be used for anyone to come and use, or
it'll
just
be a restaurant.
Restaurant just for the one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the seating would be a carry-out or for
just sit
sitting?
down. The
Okay.
seats are there, the tables are there, everything is there.
I'm familiar with Ms. Rose's, but I'm saying
except
the
the
space.
equipment.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is just for the kitchen equipment?
Yes, ma'am, just for the kitchen.
So my concerns is, this is not the back and forth, but in regards to the degree, I just don't feel that because you ask for what you request, you can automatically come back and say, based on the decree, this was what it should be, when it says reasonable. And you have received it states reasonable all throughout, grant applications, reasonable. I just don't feel that it's just to be used to say this is what we request, so this is what we get.
Well, let's really be honest. The CDC came to the city 19 months ago and said we would like 3 lots to build houses. So I think the commission, from my standpoint, must recognize the CDC as a different type of nonprofit. That's why we asked the city manager to put us here solo, because I think everybody was lumping us into other 6 nonprofits. The federal consent decree makes us different. That's our point of view. So for 19 months, we've been pretty much kicked down the road. The can has been moved. The goalpost has been moved from a moratorium to I'm setting a policy to advertise to even tonight. Let's change the policy. So here at the CDC, we're simply saying, as a partner of the city of Leesburg, per the federal consent decree, I haven't had to use this. I mean, the years I was on the commission, we had no issues. The city manager and the commission, they worked well with the CDC. Lots were donated to the CDC. Houses that were in bad shape were donated to the CDC because we were a community partner with the city of Leesburg per the federal consent decree. But we're being roped in and put in with other nonprofits like we're a typical nonprofit, and we're not. That's our point tonight. We're not a typical nonprofit. We want to be treated as the federal consent decree said we should be treated. We have not come at the city for anything except 3 lots to build housing. We have not asked the city for anything outside. You haven't seen me here. We haven't been here. I said we're here because technically 19 months is too long for any decision to be made by city council, especially when you have a federal consent decree. You're right. You shouldn't. It should be reasonable. 19 months is not reasonable. That's beyond reasonable. So here we're saying the same concept you have downtown Leesburg, where you say to a professional business guy, buy a building downtown, we're going to give you money to fix your building. The CDC is simply saying the same thing. We have bought buildings on Pine Street. We have spent a lot of money renovating these buildings. A lot of them are old, as we found out during the reconstruction. And we're simply saying, give us some help to complete this restaurant so that everything on Pine Street will be open and operational. I mean, it's very simple for us.
So who will be ultimately downtown? We have we had 4 grants.
Yes, sir.
I think 3 of them have been done.
Right.
At $250,000 apiece.
Right.
To an individual that is building and remodeling.
Yes, sir.
The building to bring it up to code.
I was here when we started that, remember?
Okay. So with your building, you want us to give you the $50,000, but who's going to own the building?
The CDC of Leesburg. And
then you're going to rent it to someone?
We're going to either rent it or run it ourselves. And we're more responsible than the person you gave the money downtown. You don't know, they can sell it tomorrow and be gone. We're going to be here. We're going to be right. Yeah, we're going to be right here in
Guess
Leesburg.
what happens with that tax revenue?
Yeah, we're going to be here in Leesburg. We're not going anywhere. Are we
getting tax revenue from it though, John?
Yeah, we pay taxes on anything that is not a nonprofit. I think last year, I gave a presentation, we paid over $30,000 in property taxes. So just because we're a nonprofit, anything that's not a taxable nonprofit, non-taxable entity, we pay taxes on it. We pay $30,000 in taxes to the city of Leesburg. So yeah, so we're not just to give us a free building for tax-free. We're not Beacon College. We're writing a check to the property appraiser, and you're getting it back in the city of Leesburg. So you're getting a great return on your investment because it's going to be a restaurant that's not a non-taxable entity. All our rental properties, we pay taxes.
My comments are, and John and I go way back, commissioners and friends, board members before that. But John, I'm struggling with this one. We gave the CDC $750,000 out of the ARP money,
Yes, sir.
3 years ago? And we split the CRA money with the CDC, so they come into over $500,000 a year from the CRA. So I am struggling with another $50,000. I understand the decree, but I'll stop right there on the equipment. Back to the lots. I know you're frustrated. You had a chance, get one lot and give you 3 home sites. I will support more than 3 per year. I mean, we need to get these lots moving. So we can always amend that policy down the road. If you're ready to build more houses, we can talk to that another day. But yeah, you kind of ran the two together, so I wanted to touch on both of them.
I got you.
But I'm struggling with the equipment, John, based on how much money we give and how supportive we've been in Pine Street and Carver Heights. Al rattled off the list,
very
but
supportive.
I'll just stand by that. We're already doing $500,000 a year.
You've been very supportive. And remember now, the CRA, if you go back and check the history, the CRA grew. We were getting $100,000 in the CRA 10 years ago.
Right.
The CRA is only $500,000 because tax values increased in the CRA area, and that's what the CRA is supposed to do.
Right,
It's supposed to. We only get half because of this federal. Now, can you imagine if the federal consent decree wasn't here? You guys would vote probably not to give us anything, and we'll be out of business in 3 years.
You know better than that.
No, but I'm
as
just
supportive
saying,
as we've been, you know better than that.
But that's why it's important to have a federal consent decree, because when commissions change, people's views change. People say you're getting too much. Nobody had a problem. You're getting $100,000, could barely make your payroll. But now that we're growing because we're working, the CRA is doing what it's supposed to do.
It is working, and it covers downtown and Pine Street, and it's working beautifully. And you're benefiting greatly from it, the CDC.
We are, and we're working hard.
And we appreciate everything.
If you look at Pine Street, how long has Pine Street looked the way it's looked? We were the ones who brought with Aquatics, and we bought that property. We sold it to the city of Leesburg with the expectation of we expanded the CRA because of the deal with the city of Leesburg. It wasn't because.
And I supported the pool entirely. I said when we put the pool here, we're going to have to redo Pine Street. There were commissioners upset that you sold that land to us after we give you land. So I'll refresh your memory on that too.
My board was upset. My board was upset that we sold the property because for 20 years the CDC wanted that.
The argument was we give you lots, but we asked for one back and we had to buy it back. That's my point.
You give me a lot, but you want 3 acres of land. That's not a.
What did we pay for the lot for the pool? I know the number.
Like 350,000.
300,000.
But it's appraised value. It's not like you gave us.
Okay, you see my point, John. I'm not trying to be. You've done a great job. I just wanted. I think the city's been very supportive. Is my point.
Yeah, you've been very supportive, but I think the last couple of years you haven't been as supportive as you've been. In the last 2 years, I don't think you have been that supportive, and I think that's why we're here, because I think the support has weaned a lot. You ask yourself what really have you done the last 2 years for the CDC? We haven't asked, and we're not here to belligerent the city because you have been a great partner to the CDC. But we don't think this is anything out of the norm to ask our city to have another restaurant. And I think, and if you're going to say no, I think you should have the same tenor when other people come to other parts of our city, ask for special donations. That's all we will ask. I think that this is a very easy ask because you have the funding in the city. And I support, you just gave $10 million to do the Susan Street. I support that. But I think as a city, you have to look at the entire city, not just certain aspects of the city.
Pastor Christian, please explain why aren't you using, or why wouldn't you use the CDC money that was allowed to do this rehabbing of the kitchen?
Okay, so I think when I came a few months ago, we have several projects that we're working on. Floyd Lane, that's almost a $600 project that we're doing for a quadplex, 2 duplexes. We have the Lana building on Main Street that we just redone at $100,000+. We have 3 new houses that we built, probably of $1 million investment in Carver Heights. So our CDC is not just a $50,000 CDC. Our CDC has payroll. We have apartments. We have buildings that we take care of insurance purposes. We have 3 staff members. We're not saying we're just broke CDC, but we're saying we need our city to assist us to accelerate what we do in our city. We think we do a great job, just like other nonprofits who come and you help build capacity in those nonprofits. So I would really like for you, I thought maybe the presentation showed you the work that the CDC has done over the last 3 years. I thought you all could see that we have a very extensive work product that we do here in the city of Leesburg.
Oh, it's no question of the work. That's not what I'm.
Yeah,
that's not what I asked.
that's why. But that's
it's
the
not
reason.
about what you have done and what you stand for, because I'm all in support. I'm just asking, why would this not be included from the CDC's money that's received? And then my second thing I want to add, are the constituents on that side of town, are they supporting? Did you get buy-in from what they're doing, or you just you moving forward based on the board?
You said get buy-in. What do you mean by
Meaning
get buy-in?
the support from the constituents that live on the side of town. Are they looking for? I think it would be great to have a restaurant.
Well,
what is the support from the people on the?
Well, I think Cotton's Kitchen is a true testament of what the CDC has done for its restaurant. We support Cotton's Kitchen with Miss Athea. It's our building. We rent to her. During the construction, we subsidize her rent. I think her rent's still probably lower than anybody restaurant here in Leesburg. All of our buildings are pretty much occupied except maybe 3 empty spots on Mike and Pine Street. So I think the support of our community has been tremendous. We have no issues, haven't had to evict anybody. Then it's the kind of people are doing the best they can. Again, I think a second restaurant will be a tremendous asset to downtown Leesburg and Pine Street. The city doesn't see that vision. I can't make you see it. I can only tell you what the needs of the CDC are at this moment. It will accelerate what we do. How we do get funding from the city, but we have big plans. You talk about starting construction on 2 new houses within the next 2 months of the lots we just received. So I'd just be remiss to see the other nonprofits that come, if they can accelerate and do what we do and invest in Carver Heights. So I'm not here to tell you anything that you don't already know. I think you can see what we've done. You ride through our city, our community, it's already there. So $50,000 is our ask to simply complete a restaurant on Pine Street.
I really wanted to answer that from the support of the constituents. That's all. I'm really trying to lean towards that to see how to be supportive. And if this data, it looks really nice, but is there anything that is there anything else that could be done to not maybe put this project on hold until later, or do something that's not as expensive?
We've purchased chairs. The chairs are there. The tables are there. Everything is done except.
So this is all ready except the kitchen.
Everything except the kitchen. So we got the number. The number was big. So as you stated at Susan Street, we didn't want to come in and say to Mr. Matthias, "Hey, don't put the refrigerator in there. Don't put the ice machine." And we've had that as a board. Do we get an ice machine? We need ice machine. Do we get the fountain drinks, or do we just get pictures and put sodas in the refrigerator? So we did that. We came to our city with the expectation that we will get that support from our city, that we can build it to the standard that Mr. Matthias presented. If not, then we will downsize it and do a smaller scale if possible. But it'll happen. It may not be a $50,000 kitchen, but it'll happen.
And what type of restaurant? Because I don't see that one.
No, we don't. We're basically willing to build a restaurant out and give one of our entrepreneurs in our city a chance to come in.
But I'm saying, what do you anticipate? Something for the kid? For a family while at the pool, or a family after church? What type of restaurant?
Well,
I'm just trying to get more information.
It won't compete with Cotton Kitchen. Cotton Kitchen is a soul food restaurant. So what our vision is, something that will complement the swimming pool, as well as some late night activities at the Pine Street Lounge.
Okay.
So that's the kind of restaurateur we're looking for, someone who's going to have extended hours, night hours, as well as summertime hours for the pool constituents. And I know you guys are tired, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I see some of you have already made your mind up. I just hope that you will consider the CDC and the work that we've already done here in Leesburg, and know that you have the money and you pick it back and you could support us at some level. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one thing before we leave?
Go right ahead.
The reason we're here tonight, back again to history, the reason we back here again is because, in talking about the consent decree, I was one discriminated and one of the recipients of getting some funds from my mom from the city of Leesburg. My mom had you remember, you were here. My mom had a restaurant on Pine when they came along with the hospital, and we filed a lawsuit and won the lawsuit. So I know history. I know the pain. My mom had to shut her door down. She couldn't make another dime. Right. She couldn't make another dime off of Pine because this city of Leesburg closed her down and several other restaurants down. So it hurt me to see this kind of stuff because that's my heart. You know, born and raised right there, played in the dirt all around through there, that's my heart. And we just trying to, as an organization, trying to build it up. You know, all these things that I'm talking about, I'm telling you what I know, not what somebody read out of a magazine. But I wish you guys would do a little bit more reconsidering stuff and just look into it a little more. Have some kind of compassion for the needs of a few people. That's all. That's all. It's just. That's all. I mean it from my heart, and God bless all y'all.
Any more comments from the commissioners?
I just want to say one thing as the commissioner for District 1. Not only do I have compassion, I'm willing to support, but I just want to say that when requesting, it's a request. And if it's not to the agreement, we can't always push the decree. And that's what I just want to understand, because I just don't feel that that's what that was set up for, to say that every time if we don't get or if you don't like, we push the decree to say you have to do this. I want to be able to support in as much as possible in all my ways. I'm very supportive of the decree. I'm aware, and I just want to make sure that we all understand that it's not about, I'm just going to stop there. I just want you to know I'm very proud of what Leesburg CDC has done and is doing, and I just think that the request now is not what I think should be considered, and that's what I'm going to leave.
Dr. Jasper, just real quick, Commissioner Berry, do you understand the consent decree? Have you read it in its entirety? Just a real quick question.
We got it. We got it.
Have you?
I have.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to close with, we spent $8 million between Pine Street and the pool, and I'm just glad to know it's so appreciated.
Any more comment? Roll call.
Commissioner Eastman? No. Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
No, we're voting on B.
50,000.
No, sorry.
Commissioner Berry?
No.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Mayor Berry?
No. Let's move on to item 7, informational reports. We have none. City attorney items.
Briefly, the Frostenberg sale ended up closing on Friday, so we got the check over to the city tonight. So that parcel has now officially closed. That was the one near downtown, was the $50,000 deal. So we got that officially closed and wrapped up here before the new year. Other than that, I just hope everybody has an enjoyable holiday season with your friends and family. I've enjoyed another year and appreciate another year being with everybody up here, and wish you all the best, as well as everybody in the city.
Thank you, Graham. City manager items.
Happy holidays. We will I'll be out on vacation the week of Christmas, so I have 3 holidays there. And then I don't know if anybody noticed in the back, we added some more pictures to the old, got the City Accomplishment Hall of Fame there up to date. So.
Excellent. Excellent. Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Nothing.
Commissioner Eastman?
A couple things. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's been an exciting, fun year. Hope to see all of you this Thursday at the Chamber Breakfast at 7 a.m. Don't forget. And I do want to say thank you to Pam and Public Works for this is just one step of highlighting all the good that we do in our city so everyone can see it, as updating those walls. And I think we can only improve on how we promote and highlight things that Leesburg does, because we do a lot of good things in our city. With that, I'll end it. Thank you.
Commissioner Peterson?
Just say Merry Christmas to everybody and stay safe over the holidays.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes, I have two things. I would like to thank the city again for allowing me to attend the Florida League of Cities December 4th through 6th, and I'm sure you have read the listing of items that will be going to legislative, and if you would just read through and give your comments, I would just be curious to know where they are. I'm enjoying being on the board and learning the municipal operations. Very exciting and a lot to learn. And last, I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and looking forward to another year. Thank you.
Mayor Bree?
Let me defer to Alan.
I want to say one thing. I forgot to say it earlier. We did approve the committee for the beautification committee. So if anyone, yeah, it was on consent. Yeah, I was just saying we did approve that. So if you know of anyone who wants to be on that, to get with Andy or Al so they can fill out the application so we can appoint people to the board and get that
that
going.
will be my understanding, Al.
We'll have it on the
really talk about
organizational
it,
meeting.
But that's going to be a committee much like our arts representatives, that type
Correct.
of thing, where we will each have an appointed.
Will each appoint one, Al, or is this?
No, it's collective.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So if you know anyone who wants to be on that, sorry. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak again.
And so, I got a comment. It has been a wonderful 2 years sitting in this seat as mayor. I have enjoyed the time here. I want to tell you all that you guys make my job really easy, because you talk about it all, and I get to referee, and it's been a good thing. I also want to thank the staff, because you guys make it happen. You make it easy for us. There's not a lot of questions, not a lot of hanging chads out there, and we've got the best staff going in Lake County, and I hope the new year is good for everyone, and it's been a pleasure being the mayor. So.
And you've been a great mayor, too.
And the organizational meeting is January 6th.
January 6th, last day. Okay, so with that, we'll look for a
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
second.